Island and Saga territories, Island, Saga Chippewa Island, and this was known today, and this known today as Williams Street. This place is and will continue to be home to let us move forward together. Let us move forward together with kindness. Before we get onto the agenda, I think it's appropriate to have a minute of silence. Not in honor and respect, 18 Canadians, unfortunately, who lost their lives in the shooting in Nova Scotia. So. Thank you, everyone. And our thoughts are with all the families of those who were lost. Do we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
No.
Being none. Moving on to the minutes. Moved by Councilor Bauer, seconded by Councilor Bauer, seconded by Councilor Lee. Meeting of council held on February 24th. Any questions or comments on the February 24th meeting? Being none, those in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the minutes of our special meeting of March 17, 2020, we have moved by Councilor Crawford, second by Councilor Tyler Moore. Special meeting of council held on March 17, 2020. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Being none, those in favor? None opposed, carried. Thank you. Moving on to question period. We had put out to the public had any questions. If anybody had any questions, the members of the public would submit them to the clerk. No questions have been received. Will not proceed with question period. Moving on to departmental report. Section 5.1 proposed community benefits charge and regulation comments. We have moved by Councilor comments. We have moved by Councilor Khan, seconded by Councilor Dyes. Report entitled proposed entitled regulations, town of Ajax regulations, town of Ajax comments. Any questions for staff? Being none, I do.
Chair. Sorry,
yes.
I actually had a question. Sorry.
Yes.
I was raising my hand. I was raising my hand. I should have spoken. Through the chair to staff. First and first, it's very nice to see all of council. Historic event. During the first event. Video. The first council meeting. Video. Secondly to staff. In to the community benefits charge. To the community benefits charge. I'm very happy in changing the way the CBC was going to be implemented. Because ultimately it would have had a huge on our library funds. And community center growth. They had mentioned that we would ultimately need to hire a CBC strategy to complete a CBC strategy. And would the consultant be paid for by the province or the municipality?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear Romanowski.
Great. Yes. I'm going to ask that Sean McCulloch, author of the report, respond to that question.
Mr. McCullough?
Everyone hear me? Hi, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. Similar to our development charge background study, the town would be responsible for hiring a consultant to prepare the CBC strategy. The town has budgeted $160,000 for this project. 2024. At this time, 90% of this project from development charge and CBC, and the rest would be funded from town. Municipalities are still waiting on confirmation on what studies will be considered eligible as an expenditure under the CBC, so that moving forward we would be able to fund under the CBC charge.
And through the chair, then, and thank you, Sean, for that. Is it typically fall under the notes section that the town gives to the province fund 50% of it, 75% of it, 50% of it, 100% of it, or do we generally just accept that it's up to the municipality to pay for these studies?
Through the chair, normally it's common practice that these studies would be funded by the municipality. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, it would be funded by the forward. If you were looking for the province to fund aspects study, that could be included in the comments. That could be included in the comments back to the province, looking provincial contributions moving forward.
I don't think it's necessarily out of line. I guess I'll leave it up to council to possibly correct me. But these changes were as a result implementing 108 and then in a sense implementing 108 and then and now we have to update our bylaw to reflect those respective changes to the tune of $160,000. And I think especially now we don't know what 2021 going forward are going to be like because of COVID-19 to put a comment in that they're looking to a rebate system or pay for some rebate system. I personally don't think it's out of line. I personally don't think it's out of line for the rest of the comments. I'll wait for the rest of the comments before I just see if there's an appetite for it. But thank you, Chair. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, any other comments to staff?
Yes, if I may. Yes, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your notes, you speak to the maximum 10% value of property that's being acquiring lands for acquiring. I know that also has a financial impact on the town. Can you clarify that for people who are listening tonight? Because I think there is some interest in that.
Ms. McCullough?
Sean, as the author of the report to respond to Councillor Dye's with regards to Parkland.
Yep. So through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. Historically, the town has been able to collect an alternative that was collected based on So under the current proposal, that continues to be removed from the Planning Act. After a review of some of the development applications that the town has received over the last couple of years, and a comparison of the land value of those projects compared to the amount of parkland that had been collected. Parkland that in almost all the instances the amounts exceeded the 10% that is being proposed through the community benefit charge strategy.
One other question I had, if I may. So the financial impact. I understand land. Differs cost of land differs in different municipalities. Give us that blank could cause a problem, particularly with intensive development is worth the development is different. It depends on the area. So I was concerned about that, and also about being able to accept parkland in kind. And wondered how that works. And where you have to have the town and the developer agree that in-kind contribution. There's different interests there.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Currently, the town has the ability to impose a condition requiring that parkland be provided. Under the proposed, the town had commented previously that we had requested that the province allow us to accept in-kind contributions. However, it was our intention that discretion under this current proposal, there would have to be some sort of mutual agreement. Although staff do strive with our development community to find mutually beneficial development, there may be instances where our official plan has identified locations, and there may be instances where developers are not willing to make those contributions. So we are asking the province that the in-kind contribution and that decision be left with the municipality.
Okay, thank you. That's important. Thank you.
Regional Councillor Crawford.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I like the idea of Lee was talking about. I think that it wouldn't ever hurt to actually ask for this. May not get it, but you certainly won't get it if you don't ask. Certainly won't get it if you don't ask. Especially given the challenges that a lot of the municipalities are going to have over the 2020 year. If there's going to be a motion, I would definitely in support of that.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. Anything further? I have staff some questions to staff. To Mr. Romanowski and Mr. Romanowski, I suspect there's going to be an amendment to this. There's going to be an amendment to this. Support the amendment. I think if there is cost, I think if there is incurred based on a change, that those costs should not be borne by the municipality, but to the timing, these comments have already been submitted. Comments have already been submitted to the province on April the 17th. And I'm wondering why. We're being asked to endorse this tonight. It's already been submitted. It's already been submitted. So any amendments are now after the fact. After checking online, it says in the report twice. It says in the report done to meet the deadline, but the deadline is 11. So there's no reason why this could not have been submitted after with our amendments. Mr. Romanowski, can you comment to that? Mr. Romanowski, can you comment to that? Please?
Yes, I can. Through the chair. We wanted to make sure that we got the comments forward. Just because we forward the comments ahead of time doesn't mean that addendums to those comments or additional comments in addition. We did not realize that the comment period is done at 11:59 tonight. Proactive and get our comments to the province in order for us to ensure that our comments are submitted on time. But we definitely can make any adjustments through any of the directions received by council this evening and forward those with a revised set of the comments that this set should be referring to going forward.
Okay. In future, I would prefer that we with the original. Just go the route with the original. Not have an amended or supplementary list if the deadline comes after the council meeting. Just to make it cleaner and make sure that there's no I guess misunderstanding. Anybody mixes it up. Those are my comments. Regional Council Lee, do you have an amendment?
Yes, Chair. Through the chair to this clerk, in writing, or I can just
verbalize it already. You can verbalize it already.
So moved by myself, seconded by Regional Councillor Crawford. Comments to the province to the reflect and ask, if you will, for the province to either reimburse in full or in part the study for the costs for the community benefits charge.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to it, or
No, I think just I've already spoken to in terms of we are going to go through some very hard times coming forward next year, and every little bit helps, and this is something we're forced to update as a result of provincial policy, and as a result I'm hoping the province can come municipalities with added cost. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, did you get that?
Yes, we've got it. Thank you.
I've just put that. Any costs related to the updating of the policy be reimbursed from the province. Our final comment. Any questions or comments on the amendment? Being none, those in favor of the amendment. That is carried. On the main motion. Anybody wish to speak to it? Okay, those in favor of the main motion as amended. Hands, please. There we go. That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to Port Departmental 2, Bill 108, more Act status. We have moved by Regional Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Taylor Moore, 108, Port Taylor Joe 108, 2019 status update. Questions, Councillor Lee? Regional Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to staff, and I suppose it's Sean again. Bill 108's been a contentious issue. We've brought this up in a few meetings of what does this mean? What's the impact to the town? I think we're getting more and more clarity, and I think we're getting more and more clarity now, which is great. My question is updates to the LPAS/OMB. So since the town 108 was incepted in September, has the town gone to the LPAT, as it is now, and what has been the result of those hearings?
Thank you.
Through the chair, I'll refer to Sean to answer Sterling Lee's question.
Mr. McCullough?
Thank you.
McCullough?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Since September 2019, the town hasn't received any appeals that would be impacted by these changes. However, the process that was implemented is in fact the old Ontario municipal process, which the town has a lot of experience dealing. So we have had a lot of experience dealing with this type of process before.
As a follow-up, Chair, do we find that the OMB process more beneficial to the town, or do we find the LPAT system is more beneficial? And can you kind of elaborate? Let's say to anybody streaming for the first time, what does that mean for them? What does that mean? Like, what is the end user result of the change?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. When the province transitioned from the Ontario Municipal Board to the local planning appeals tribunal, the local planning appeals tribunal was originally intended to be a true appeals mechanism. In that hearings would no longer be de novo, and that you have one board member making an application. It was to look at what a council's decision was and determine whether or not that decision was consistent with policy and local policy. This new process would also have relied heavily on materials, written, and there would have materials, limits on oral submissions and cross-examination. For us, this would have resulted in drastically reducing the costs associated with legal expenses with staff expenses. So to that end, the town was very supportive in the past of planning appeals tribunal process as it was originally intended, as it would have acted as that true appeals mechanism, and potentially saved resources and money.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff. Staff.
Okay, anything further? Okay, anything further?
Question, please. I have a question.
Councilor Dice.
Thank you.
Councilor Dice.
And by the way, I very much appreciate the work you've done. These reports are really thorough. I just had a question about inclusionary zoning, where they've been limited to transit stations, and that's for affordable housing. So I'm wondering where else in the town, other than the GO station, would you consider a major transit station so that we have the ability to have more than one area for affordable housing?
So through you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, the town only has one major transit station area, and that is the Ajax. So with this limit, we would only
The pulse on Kingston Road would fit that category, where it is rapid transit, any of the other major arterial roads.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Currently, that isn't identified as a major transit station. We do see in the future, likely the next municipal conference that will those stations along that road will become major transit station areas. However, the way provincial policy is currently, it's only the Ajax GO station, unfortunately.
But just to clarify, we can't have any subsidized housing within our communities. Our separate neighborhoods.
Through you, Mr. Chair, using the inclusionary zoning, that's correct. We would only be able to use it in the Ajax GO station.
Very short-sighted. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Anybody else? I just have to follow up on that.
Yes, we've got it. Thank you.
Okay, I've just put that any costs related to the updating of the policy be reimbursed from the province, as our final comment. Any questions or comments on the amendment? Being none, those in favor of the amendment? That is carried. On the main motion, as amended, anybody wish to speak to it? Okay, those in favor of the main motion as amended? Hands, please. There we go. That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to Departmental Report 5.2, Bill 108, More Homes, More Choices Act Status Update. We have moved by Regional Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Tyler Morin, for the report entitled Bill 108, More Homes, More Choices Act 2019 Status Update be received for information. Questions, comments? Regional Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair to staff, and I suppose it's Sean again. Bill 108's been a contentious issue with the town, not contentious, but we've brought this up in a few meetings of what's the impact to the town, what does this mean, what does this mean? And I think we're getting more and more clarity now, which is great. My question is, the updates to the LPAT/OMB system. So since 108 was incepted in September, has the town gone to the LPAT as it is now since, and what has been the result of those hearings?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll refer to Sean to answer Mr. Sterling Lee's question.
Mr. McCullough.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, since September 2019, the town hasn't received any appeals that would be impacted by these changes. However, the process that was implemented through Bill 108 is in fact the old Ontario Municipal Board process, which the town has a lot of experience dealing with historically. So we have had a lot of experience dealing with this type of process before.
As a follow-up, Chair, to staff, do we find that the OMB process is more beneficial to the town, or do you find the LPAT system is more beneficial to the town? And can you kind of elaborate, let's say to anybody streaming for the first time, what does that mean for them, or what is it like? What is the end user result of the change?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So when the province transitioned from the Ontario Municipal Board to the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal, the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal was originally intended to be a true appeals mechanism, in that hearings would no longer be de novo, in that you have one board member making a decision on an application. It was to look at what a council's decision was and determine whether or not that decision was consistent with provincial policy and local policy. This new process would also have relied heavily on written materials, and there would have been limits on oral submissions and cross-examination. So for us, this would have resulted in drastically shorter hearings, reducing the cost associated with legal expenses and staff time. So to that end, the town was very supportive in the past of the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal process as it was originally intended, as it would have, again, acted as that true appeals mechanism and potentially save the town resources and money.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff.
Okay, anything further?
I have a question, please.
Yeah, Regional Councillor Dice.
Thank you. And by the way, I very much appreciate the work you've done. These reports are really thorough. I just had a question about inclusionary zoning, where they've been limited to major transit stations, and that's for affordable housing. So I'm wondering, where else in the town, other than the GO station, what would you consider a major transit station, so that we have the ability to have more than one area for affordable housing?
So through you, Mr. Chair, unfortunately, the town only has one major transit station area, and that is the Ajax GO station. So with this limit, we would only be able to apply it in that location.
So the Pulse on Kingston Road wouldn't sort of fit that category, where it is rapid transit in a sense, and any of the other major arterial roads?
Through you, Mr. Chair, currently that isn't identified as a major transit station area. We do see in the future, likely the next municipal comprehensive review, that those stations along that route will eventually become major transit station areas. However, the way provincial policy is currently, it's only the Ajax GO station, unfortunately.
So just to clarify, we can't have any subsidized housing, say within our communities, our our separate neighborhoods?
Through you, Mr. Chair, using the inclusionary zoning, that's correct. We would only be able to use it in the Ajax GO station.
Very short-sighted. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Nope, thank you.
Anybody else? I just have, just to follow up on that, Mr. McCullough. In our comments, because I would suggest that this would probably make a good comment, and I don't know if it's appropriate to wait another 5 years till the next MCR, but I'm just thinking, Regional Councillor Dies is right as far as our main corridors, and we already do address this in our comments for major regional roads. And we ask for intensification through major regional roads, but we don't talk about subsidized housing. Would this not be appropriate to have one of our comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you are correct. We have been supportive of increased intensification along the regional corridors, and we have submitted comments to the region on encouraging transit designations along those future corridors, so we can start building up to what they will eventually become. But that's definitely something that we can submit to the region as part of the municipal comprehensive review, and have them look at encouraging different types of affordable housing in the intensification areas. It wouldn't be the mechanism of the inclusionary zoning. We have asked the province through our current comments that, or in the past, that inclusionary zoning be permitted in all strategic growth areas. But that's a comment that was ignored by the province.
I'm thinking, to give an example, the Durham Centre, and we know that the current big box models are going to be changed and probably going to be looking at putting more higher density seniors housing, long-term care, other things in some of those areas. As things, especially now, as things are going more and more online ordering and less people are going to these big box stores. But by only allowing subsidized housing in the GO node, that's really limiting. Do you have any other suggestions? Because even if we make this comment to the region through the MCR process, it's still going to be several years away. There's no way to get it in as far as through the Bill 108 consultation?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, the comments on the Bill 108 consultation have already closed. This was just an update on some of those changes that have already happened. These are comments that we had submitted last year, and the results were not in our favor, and hoping that we would see some more options for larger geographical areas to apply some of those mechanisms. But certainly moving forward, as we move through the region's process and we look at our own tools that we have, we can certainly, staff would be supportive of encouraging affordable housing in those areas suggested, because those are our strategic growth areas, and we really are hoping that they develop into affordable, complete communities.
Okay, I would suspect that the same question might get asked in the next departmental report 5.3. Moving on to the report, it's moved by Regional Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Tyler Moore. Anything further on the report? Being none, those in favor? None opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to departmental report 5.3. Envision Durham Municipal Comprehensive Review, Town of Ajax comments on the environment and Greenland system, transportation systems, and housing policy discussion papers. Any questions, comments to staff? Regional Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Through the, it's, Envision Durham is going to outline the next many years of development within Durham, and transportation will be a key part of that. My question was whether we, Ajax, had included any notes regarding carpooling to the GO station or whatnot, or setting up a carpool system. I know, if I'm not mistaken, if you go to the Durham Region website, we work with a third party to set up carpools, but I only found that out through this report when I looked it up myself. It's not something that we seem to actively promote. And I think that's a missed opportunity, as I'm sure many people within the same neighborhood go to the GO station, and we could reduce a lot of the gridlock by at least carpooling or setting up some sort of carpool system. So I'm just curious to what staff's thoughts were on a carpool, a more organized carpool program within the region.
Ms. McCullough, is that still for you?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes. That one would be me as well. Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair, the discussion paper, it did have a lot of discussion on transportation demand management measures, such as the Smart Commute program. It also questioned what the region's role should be in providing carpool lots throughout the region. I think they identified a handful of locations that they do currently have. And then the discussion paper also touched on the region's current transportation demand management plan and some of those measures, such as the Smart Commute, and expanding it through pilot projects with employers so that it can reach more users. So our comments specifically with this discussion paper was that staff did support carpool lots, especially in areas not well served by transit. And we also supported the expansion of TDM measures being offered by the region. The town's transportation staff are heavily involved in working with programs like Smart Commute, trying to get that word out, and encouraging transportation demand management measures through our development application. So that's something that they do routinely as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, staff.
Okay, Regional Councillor Dice.
Thank you. So I guess really just a comment about you're introducing they're introducing a policy that discourages dumping of fill. And I've seen firsthand, and as you have, Mr. Mayor, when we've had a tour with TRCA on the headwaters of the Crothers, that the fill from development that's happening all around us is going into the green belt, into our agricultural lands as well. And it's really changing the landscape, and not for the better. It has changed the grading of the land in some instances, and we don't really know what the quality of that fill is. It could be contaminated. So right now, my understanding is that as a municipality, if it's in our jurisdiction, it's a bylaw issue. Is that correct?
Yes, through the chair. Sorry, Sean, I'll jump in here. But yes, through the chair, any movement of fill on lands are subject to sediment or erosion control bylaw. They would need to get a permit to do that work, to move dirt around or bring fill into the site. That usually comes through some type of complaint through the bylaw department, then it's passed on through planning, and then we go through that process to ensure that that process is kind of monitored, appropriate sediment erosion control fencing, that type of stuff is put up if required.
So is there an ability then to work with different levels of government to find a better solution? Because you kind of have to be there, or as you say, on a complaint basis, but you really have to catch them in the act, because what they're doing is they're paying, landowners to take a truckload of soil, and some take more than others. So it's very difficult for our bylaw to manage that, yet we will feel the impact downstream. And we're also paying, when you're looking at these watersheds and the work that has to be done to mitigate some of the impacts of, riparian growth or development or whatever the impact is on our watersheds. We're now looking at a study on Carruthers that's going to say what we have to do to improve the watershed. So to me, it's a really, really big issue that never seems to be addressed. And I'm wondering if you've ever had that sort of collaborative approach with the region and other in Pickering perhaps as well.
Not so much with the region, through the chair to Councillor Dyes, not so much with the region. We tend to maybe team up with these issues more often than not with the respective conservation authorities, as they typically get involved if there's dirt being moved around on properties, especially if they're adjacent to any natural heritage features or water courses or wooded areas. Typically, it's just between the municipality, the bylaw officers for the municipality, and the enforcement officers with the Conservation Authority. We usually work through those channels to ensure that people are following the rules, getting the right permits, putting the dirt in the right spot, providing the right plans, so we understand the volume of dirt that's being pushed around and keeping it away from areas that could be negatively impacted.
Well, the one I saw was a wetland, and they had raised it, you know, many feet so that when they did have an intense rain, it flooded the road underneath. So I think it's something we may consider looking at a little differently and see if we can manage it a little better. I know it's not just on us. I think we have partners that are also concerned about this issue. So thank you. Appreciate your answer.
Okay, are there any other members of council? Questions, comments for staff? Regional Councillor Dyes, would you like to move an amendment to the section 3, which is something along the lines of that the region be encouraged to have more areas for, I guess, low income or subsidized housing focused around major transit routes?
I think, well, yes, I would like to make an amendment, but I think that it's really up to the municipality to make those decisions, because we're also very different in how our communities have been developed over the years. I think it's a big mistake to say just in this one area specifically, because we know from past history that that's problematic. You're putting everything in one area, and it has not worked in the past. And that's why we have a mix of housing now. So I'm not sure how you want to amend that. I really think the responsibility should be given to the individual municipalities to make those decisions. Obviously, you're going to have some in that major transit corridor, but not all of them.
Yeah, but right now, according to this, it's only in the go node. And in order to, as Ms. McCullough said, that's going to be one of the staff's recommendations to the region during the municipal comprehensive review process, is that it be encouraged in other areas like along transit routes, but that's not currently in this report.
No, I agree. Yeah, it should be encouraged in other areas. I'm hesitant to say, you know, transit areas, because obviously we have good transit, don't we? So we all live within the good transit area.
Okay. Well, I think staff, Mr. McCullough and Mr. Romanowski, can you take that as direction?
Yes, we can. I just want to make sure that we were talking about the right report, because I think the MTSA inclusionary zoning was the second report that we dealt with, and this is the third report that we're dealing with. Am I correct?
This is the last one we did was, yeah, I believe you are, but this is the comment. Right. The other one was Bill 108. This is the one on Avisio Durham and the housing policy discussion papers. Okay,
so yes, we definitely can take that direction forward. Our comments are around that the region consider increasing affordable housing targets in specific geographic locations, such as strategic growth areas. So this would be in our downtown area that are well served by transit. So that is part of our comments, but we can enhance that comment based on council's direction and provide that going forward. Yes.
All right, thank you. So this is moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Bauer. With the report entitled Division Durham. Pardon?
Sorry, Mayor. I just had a question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for the report. Very interesting. I was just thinking about it. Now that we are a month into our new reality, these comments were all posted or created, I guess, pre-pandemic. And if we look at it now that we have a different lens possibly that we could be looking at issues and planning and discussion and comments. So I'm just wondering, are these comments closed now? And if we do have things that we are learning as we are learning, as we are going through this crazy time every day, do we have the opportunity to have another look, and perhaps there's something that we've missed or that we've learned or that we want to, answer a question differently as a result of what we're going through? I don't know who could answer that. I guess the question is, if once we have a chance to, or as we review what's going on, it may change or give us an opportunity, or we have something additional that we want to add that's not in these comments, because the comments first is the period to discuss this closed, or can we reopen it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, with the Envision Durham process, it's ongoing, and this is just the discussion phase. The region has been open to accepting comments after their deadlines, so that they make sure that it results in an official plan that's representative of the region. So if there are comments that come up, we still will have the opportunity to submit those comments and work with our colleagues at the region, and then there will also be future amendments that come forward. That there will be another opportunity to comment at that time as well.
And also through the chair to Councillor Bauer, I think what we're seeing just in general, not specific to any one report that planning has before council this evening, but definitely the COVID circumstance that we're under, those discussions are being had within a lot of planning departments, looking at our policy, looking at how we do business. Just this alone tonight on virtual council meetings, I think it's a fulsome discussion. I don't think it's in any one particular area of the municipality, but we're definitely seeing that trend of the COVID-19 situation and looking at these times and how we can improve upon them and take the lessons that we're learning to go forward with.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, anything further? Okay, being none.
No.
Moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Bauer. The report entitled Envision Durham Municipal Comprehensive Review, Town of Ajax comments be received for information, and that staff's comments be endorsed. Those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Moving on to Departmental Report 5.4. Contract Award T20009, Local Road Resurfacing 2020, Neighborhood Streetlight Improvements and Geotechnical Services. Any questions or comments to staff on this? Regional Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. My question is on the roads that are actually being resurfaced. I'm not sure who would answer this, but I know that we have had multiple discussions around Brennan Road, and I don't see this as being one of the roads that are going to be tackled this time. And I'd like to have an understanding of why.
Ms. Bridgman, can you speak to Brennan Road and where it falls in our pavement management strategy?
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. Thank you for the question, Councillor Crawford. On an annual basis, the town views and completes a scan of our road network and prioritizes all of the roads in the network. Brennan is in the long-range capital forecast, but was not scheduled for 2020.
Do you know when it's scheduled, Catherine?
I do not have that information off the top of my head, but I can provide that information to Councillor Crawford tomorrow.
I believe it was 2023, but I thought that we had some discussions about that being moved up.
There was an error in the detail sheet, and we have communicated with a local resident and spoke to a few people in regards to that road. It has been scheduled in the 2022, I believe, or 2021. I'm not sure. Again, I'd like to verify that data before I confirm. But it is not in 2023. It's definitely in the long-range capital forecast, but it's not scheduled to be completed this year. I'd have to get the information to you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Sure.
Any further questions to staff? Being none, moved by Regional Councillor Dye, second by Regional Councillor Crawford. The council award the contract for road resurfacing 2020 to Sea Valley Paving in the amount of $733,577.52, inclusive of taxes. 2, the council award the contract for Roslyn Road top asphalt, west town limit to Church Street to Sea Valley Paving in the amount of $495,838.58, inclusive of taxes. 3, the council award the contract for neighborhood streetlight improvements to Sea Valley Paving in the amount of $347,301.83, inclusive of taxes. And 4, that council award the contract for geotechnical work to Cambium Inc. in the amount of $19,896.70, inclusive of all taxes. Those in favor? None opposed. Carried. Thank you. And moving on to 5.6, final report, contract award, Highway 2 bus rapid transit street lighting. Any questions to staff? Moved by Regional Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Bauer, that the report on net over expenditure of $48,055.94 for the supply and installation of streetlights be received for information, and we approve the following funding to be allocated to capital account 1000711 from the development charge for roads and development reserve. Those in favor? None opposed. Carried. Moving on to 5.6, contract award supply and delivery of the pumper rescue fire truck. Questions or comments, Mr. Lang? Being none, moved by Councillor Khan, second by Regional Councillor Lee. The council award the contract for the supply and delivery of a pumper / rescue fire truck to Dependable Emergency Vehicles in the amount of $1.162 million, inclusive of all taxes. And 2, that council approved funding of $71,957 to be allocated to capital account 1008011 from vehicle equipment replacement reserve. Those in favor? None opposed. Carried. And the final departmental report, COVID-19 response update from CAO Baker. Any questions to Mr. Baker? Regional Councillor Crawford.
Okay, just bear with me. I gotta try to work 2 screens on one. Hang on. Okay, so I'm just reading here. The town is one of 2 municipalities in the region offering a specialized hygiene hub for local unsheltered population. That is supposed to be starting this week, am I correct?
Mr. Baker?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, we had planned to start it this week. Unfortunately, the region was not ready to go. Our staff worked hard and are still working hard with the region to be able to get the hub up and running. And we're actually waiting for them now to get all of their items aligned so that we can open up the doors.
I think it's very exciting. I'm just curious, will we get some kind of information on how that actually rolls out?
I'm going to pass that on to Director Vaughn. She's been in conversation with the region, so she should be able to answer your question in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
Good evening, everyone. Through the chair to Councillor Crawford. Yep, we are currently working with the region on a number of the details. We wanted to be clear that everything was fully in place before we opened our doors. We certainly will be able to give council a high-level overview of the types of services that will be provided in the hub. What I can tell you at this time is that the hub is sort of has 2 purposes. One is it provides a screening function and a health check function for the unsheltered population. So there will be an opportunity for individuals to go through screening. If they do have any potential symptoms for COVID, they will be connected directly with public health staff who can assist them from a health perspective in get them to the right place to get the right support at the right time. Then the hub also will serve as an opportunity for hygiene, so showers, bathrooms, accessing basic necessities, as well as some other supports like food, mental health, crisis intervention, things of that nature. So as you can imagine, there's a number of moving parts to get together. There's a couple of agencies that will need to be big players in this. So it's really, the region is working really diligently to get all of those pieces put together. But as soon as we have all of those plans finalized, we would be happy to share an update with council so that you understand what's happening and how we'll be positioned to serve the community.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have a couple of other questions. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Or do you want to, okay. So I just wanted to say that I really thought that our business live telephone hall was good. I thought it was informative both for businesses and for us to understand the problems that businesses are having. I'm hoping that we're going to see more of that. I'd love to see it more in a webinar kind of situation so that it's a little bit better for interaction. And I'm hoping that that's just something that we can do in the future. The other thing I wanted to ask about, I noticed, was that there was a support local business campaign. What exactly is that? How are we doing that?
Mr. Baker?
Mr. Mayor, I will pass this on to Acting Director Romanowski, but it's my understanding that we received a request from our economic development staff to try and encourage people to shop locally as much as possible, and we asked them to give us some examples of different types of businesses that are still open that they can access. I'm not sure, that was the last I heard of it. I'm not sure where we are with that initiative, but perhaps Jeff can fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I'm curious, Jeff. I am. Thank you. Is economic development running this campaign?
They're working on this campaign. I think communications is part of this as well, but it's mostly in the XD side of things. There's three main themes with the whole Support Local campaign that's now out on social media. So there's many ways for residents to support local businesses from home, promoting businesses that are helping with the COVID-19 efforts. So this would be things such as supporting our frontline workers in the most vulnerable segments of our population. The third theme is promoting businesses that are supporting each other in unique ways. So the sharing of stories, hashtag Ajax Advantage and @Town of Ajax. And also connecting through our website, ajax.ca/business for stories and updates. So that's how we're working the Support Local campaign.
So I'm assuming that this is a fairly new kind of venture. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's been kind of the last 2.5, 3 weeks that we've put information together through XD. They've been running that mostly on their own as part of their normal standard XD reaching out to businesses processes.
Okay, I just think I'm very happy to hear that, because I think that especially some of our small businesses, they're in so much stress at this point, trying to figure out how to keep things open and keep their businesses and employees employed. I do really want to say that I'm so impressed with our larger local businesses that are giving huge, like Saffron Landing Systems and Latrinas and OPG and all of the businesses that are out there really helping and supporting Lake Ridge Health. So I just want to shout out to them too. But thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Regional Councillor Dice.
Thank you. I just wanted a follow-up question on the hub, if I may. Ms. Vaughn, I realized when it first came out, the information was also about connecting people with different programs in the community. Is that still part of the hub?
Thank you. Through the chair to Regional Councillor Dice, absolutely. What will happen when the individuals come into the hub, there will be a basics check-in with them to see what it is that they need access to, what they have access to. And we will be working really closely with local agencies to match the needs of the clients who are coming in with the local agencies that are out there. So there will be sort of an information and referral type behavior that will be happening on the part of our agencies. And we will also have agency staff available in the hub to answer questions and provide service. So we're taking sort of a staged approach and making sure that the case management and information and referral piece is really put together really well, and then plugging in agencies as we start to see what the themes are and what the needs are that continue to emerge. So I would definitely see this building and growing, which is one of the reasons we use the location that we are using, so we can continue to add services as they become necessary.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that. Will that mean you will also look at gaps? For example, there are certain times of the day where there are programs available that they can access, but there are a few hours in the day and the evening when there's nowhere for them to go. Yet we know you can't sit down in a park or on a bench at a picnic table. There are regulations, COVID regulations. So it's really difficult for people who are without a home when there's absolutely nowhere for them to go. So is this going to be something that will be taken into consideration? I think the DAC committee was supposed to review that, but I didn't see it in their meetings.
Thank you. Through the chair to Regional Councillor Dyes. Absolutely. One of the conversations we've had with both the region and with the main organization who will be working with us in the hub is the ability to capture real-time information and do sort of a gap analysis, sort of a strength-based assessment and a gap analysis, and identify where there are gaps in service, where there's overlap in service, where we need to identify other community partners who either need to come into the hub, or how do we network the individuals accessing the hub to their services. So one of the examples is we talked about laundering facilities, for example. So if there's something that we may not necessarily have in the hub, but how do we connect the individuals using the hub to all of the other great community supports that are out there? So creating that map, creating that referral network is going to be really important. And we'll take sort of our daily logs and our daily activity sheets to be able to determine what needs are coming out that perhaps we haven't identified yet or haven't been able to find a provider for, and be able to put those asks through the region and the network to see who can meet those demands in a meaningful way, either in the hub or in connection and partnership with the hub.
Thank you. I really appreciate the information. And I just have one last question, and it's not related to this, but I did receive an inquiry from the Salvation Army about the COVID Action Fund. And while we may not have information on it, you're connected with the region and some of our not-for-profits. So you might be able to get some information for me. But the COVID Action Fund indicated that the money would be distributed to, the province, to local service managers. And then that changed. It seemed to be flowing through local programs that be allocated through the region. So the concern is that historically we know where the money goes. Oshawa gets a lot because they've always had the programs there and the need is there. But the Salvation Army does the food bank here. They have many other programs too, but the food bank is an issue right now. They were looking at increasing the food available because we know there's an increase in families and supply. They were looking at a process, and I wondered if you could find out if there is a proposal process in place where, different not-for-profits in different in our municipality can access a proposal to say exactly what their needs are and what they're looking for, because Salvation Army is looking for 4 months of operational costs. So yes, they get the food from Feed the Need, but it's not quite enough. So that comes out of their operational costs. And of course, that's getting higher all the time. So I'd like to be able to find out that information for them regarding a proposal process.
Thank you again, through the chair to Regional Councillor Dyes. I will follow up on that with you. You're quite correct in that I think the not-for-profits are definitely struggling to navigate some of the funding announcements that have happened or understand where or when they're happening. Certainly something that we'll continue to raise with the region and other funding partners. It was something we were talking about earlier today, but I will specifically find out what, if any, updates have come available, and I'll send you information around, in particular, where the Salvation Army may be able to leverage the operational funds, because we've talked about that. It's one thing for agencies to be able to have the groceries, but it's another thing to have the staff to sort the groceries or ensure that they can get to the people that need them. So it's a point well taken. I will follow up and I will get you any information that I'm able to ascertain from the region or the other partners.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Regional Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair to CAO Baker first, just want to make a comment of, and actually to the entire staff and the mayor and everyone for doing the impossible during unprecedented times. I think it's very easy to armchair quarterback and say, oh, we should have done this sooner, we should have done that sooner. But I think now's more than ever is a time when we all need to come together. And I just want to thank the mayor for his leadership and staff for doing a great job in ensuring the town of Ajax is running as best we can under these circumstances. My question ultimately is regarding an economic recovery task force. So Oshawa had just announced last week that they had instituted this type of task force. And I understand we're doing the webinars, and to Maryland Regional Councillor Crawford's point, we can expand them, but I was hoping for a more formalized response from the town to look at recovery efforts for our small businesses. Now, I understand, we're still in this, and I will be in this for the time being, but just what is the town doing to start at least looking at the next steps?
Mr. Baker?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this was a discussion. I actually am on a conference call with the Durham Region CAOs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this was a conference discussion that we had last Thursday, and Oshawa talked about what their plans are, and the CAOs, had a number of questions of how they were proceeding forward. This is obviously something that we need to address as we move through this process. Recovery is a big part of any emergency situation. So this is a discussion piece that we will have at our emergency operations control group meetings as we move forward, and we will definitely make sure that we keep council up to date as we move to that phase.
That's great. And my last question, something that Councillor Bauer brought up, of almost a playbook for COVID. Now that we're learning all these lessons that we never thought we had to learn previously from this experience, are we kind of keeping track of all these things so that we can kind of create a playbook, a summary as to what worked, what didn't work, what we would do differently should this happen again, so that future councils can be more prepared should the next disaster or emergency happen?
So absolutely, all of our we have two different meetings that we do every week. We do COVID steering committee meetings that are recorded, and we do via Zoom, of course, and we do our emergency operations control group meetings as well, which are recorded. So through those meetings, we make decisions of all the different issues that we're facing on a day-to-day basis, and those are forwarded to you through your briefing notes, as well as the end of the week decision trackers. But in addition to that, we are taking minutes as well of all of those meetings, and we're going to go back after this is all over. We're going to go back and debrief and look at exactly what you're talking about. What worked, what didn't work, what came out of left field that we weren't expecting. How did residents react to different actions that we took, so that we have an idea of what we might be facing if this ever happens again, or if we go to a second wave or more. But absolutely, that's all part of our process.
That's great. Thank you, Chair.
Any other comments? Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment. I wanted to thank everybody for their hard work. It's amazing to see everyone come together, take care of each other. And just as the section of CAO Baker's report, the engaging with the community, I think the town has done a tremendous job. The website, social media, these live with the mayors, the phone calls, it's been a great sharing of information in an effort to make sure everyone feels informed and part of a community. And I also want to give a shout out to the community itself and all of the groups. Like if you go on Facebook and there's a group monitoring the lineups at different stores, there's a group monitoring what restaurants are offering delivery or takeout. There's the group of caremongers or South Ajax volunteers. Like it's just, I think it's amazing that everyone's coming together, and I commend the town as well, because I see you on those social medias, and it really is a reciprocal effort where everyone is trying to take care of Ajax. So I just want to say thank you. No question.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Any other questions, comments to CAO Baker's report? Being none, I'll just speak quickly, and I've said this to you, Shane, but I'll just say it publicly. I heard a good analogy the other day that I've used a couple of times, and that is we're building the plane as we fly it. Yeah. And that's sort of what's happening. This is uncharted territory, and I just can't say enough about how thankful I am for our staff and all the work that you've done. I mean, this has been an incredibly complicated and difficult time, and you guys have really pulled together our senior management team, our emergency management group, and you guys have done such a great job. So I'm sure on behalf of everybody, I want to say publicly, thank you for all the work you've done, and I appreciate it, and let's hope this doesn't go on too long, but thank you very much, Mr. Baker, for your report.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your comments, and thank you, Council. I do have to say that, I've been in, with my emergency services background, I've been through a few disasters and managing disasters before, but nothing like this. This is quite interesting. But I have to say that very, very proud of our staff, of how we came together. Not only senior staff, but we have staff in a number of different areas that we felt were vital to be around that table. And everybody's contributed 110%, and they're all, we're all brainstorming, and everybody has an equal voice around the table, which has enabled us to move the organization forward and make quick decisions and move on things, which were really the most difficult part of the first few weeks of this response, because things were changing and still are really, but things were changing. The landscape was changing on a daily basis with the announcements from the province and the federal government. And the different orders and the different responses that we had to make. But absolutely, I think that this going through this pandemic has made us stronger as a staff team, and as also a team with council as well. And we as staff really appreciate all the support that council has given us, and relied on us to make the decisions that we've had to make and back us through this process. So I'm just going to thank you all on behalf of all staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have moved by Councillor Tyler Moore and second by Councillor Bauer. The report entitled Ajax COVID-19 Response Update be received for information. 2, that the federal and provincial governments be requested to provide operating support for municipalities either through the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy Program or a municipal specific grant. 3, that the federal government be requested to commit gas tax funding at or above 2018-19 levels. And 4, that this report be reported to MP Mark Holland, Federal Minister of Finance Bill Morneau, Ontario Minister of Finance Rod Phillips, and Ontario Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing Steve Clark. And just to let Council know, I've sent off a lot of letters, but I did send off a letter recently to MP Holland exactly about this emergency wage subsidy program, and that it should be applied to municipalities. We are experiencing all the same issues that any other business is. We're having to do some staff layoffs. We're having to do a lot of things. We've had our revenue affected, and that we've waived penalties and interest on our property taxes, a number of other things. We've also lost our slots revenues. We've lost all our recreation funding when we had to close our facilities. But at the same time, we are provincially legislated to maintain certain levels of service, and we are not allowed to run a deficit. And all those things, we can see on here a net loss so far of about $2.5 million, and that's only in the first month. So it's pretty much impossible to not run a deficit when all these things are happening, and when the federal subsidies that have come out so far don't include municipalities, it makes it even more challenging. So those letters have gone out just for the information of council and whoever's watching. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Thank you. It's carried. That concludes our departmental reports. Regional council reports. I asked before the meeting if anybody had any, but we haven't really had any meetings. Does anybody have anything they wish to speak about from a regional perspective? It being none, I would just note that we did have a special regional council meeting, and it was held remotely by Zoom, and all of our future meetings will be held remotely. We have canceled the committee meetings, being finance, planning, works, and health and social services, because just like we're doing here at this council, we're just bringing those reports straight to council, and we're not having all those other meetings. We also delegated a certain amount of authority to the CAO and the chair of the region, as we did here at the town. So anybody have anything to add to that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so we have moved by Regional Councillor Crawford, second by Regional Councillor Dyes, that the Regional Council's reports of April 20th, 2020 be received for information. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to bylaws. Moved by Councillor Lees, Regional Councillor Lees, second by Councillor Bauer. The bylaws numbers 11-2020 to 14-2020 be read at first, second, third time and passed. Those first two are the bylaws, the tax bylaws, which reflect the changes we need to make to allow the waiving of penalties and interest for 60 days. And the other, again, are to do with the COVID-19. And of course, appointing Mr. McRealis in replace of recently retired building inspector, head chief building inspector. Any questions or comments on the bylaws? Regional Councillor Crawford?
Sorry, I just had one question on the parking permits. Are we still going through that process right now? Is this just for future parking permits? I mean, I know we had a report before all this kind of thing blew up. I'm just curious on the timing of this.
Yeah, Ms. Cooper?
Yes, you're correct. So this is really just a housekeeping matter, just closing the loop from the additional fee that council already approved when you pull permits in excess of 12. We're just getting it in place now to sort of bookend that matter, but there's a provision in the bylaw that allows for it not to be implemented right away. So once we get the software capable of handling the paid permit fees, and of course, once we're back to normal service levels, that's when you'll see this bylaw take effect.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments on the bylaws? Being none, those in favor? Those are carried. Thank you. Now, we have taken out of this agenda announcements and also notice of motion. I know there's no notice of motion. Does anybody have any announcements before I make one? Councillor Khan.
Yes, this week it's going to be the beginning of Ramadan for Muslims. So on behalf of Ajax Council and the Muslims of Ajax and Canada Worldwide, I want to wish everyone a happy Ramadan. Just be aware that this is the month of charity for Muslims, and hundreds and thousands of families will be opening their homes and their hearts to take care of the most vulnerable. And so we will be looking out for that. There's going to be a flood of charity and donations within our community. So I just wanted to make us aware of that. And it's a great month for us. So on behalf of Ajax Council and all of Ajax, happy Ramadan. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Tyler Moore, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to speak about what's happening this Saturday at 7 p.m., but you're going to tell them about that.
I was going to talk about that.
I'm looking forward to it. That's all I'm going to say.
Anybody else before I make that announcement? Councillor Lee.
Just that on Wednesday, it's Earth Day, and I believe, I understand that we're social distancing a total of 6 feet, not meters, from each other. But, if you're going a walk along the trails, along the parks, you see some garbage, feel free to pick it up on that day of all days, because I think it's the 50th anniversary, and more than ever, it's really important that we continue to take care of our planet. And I think so far, it's the one silver lining of this dark cloud is all the positive environmental benefits of having everyone stay at home, not drive. And so hopefully we can carry forward that momentum in other positive ways. So Wednesday's Earth Day, and please clean up if you have a chance.
I'll be at Hermitage Park cleaning up there.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. It'll be my birthday, so I'll pick up something somewhere.
Oh, and it's Lisa's birthday too. That's what I forgot.
Birthday. Had to throw that in there.
And we missed Councilor Crawford's birthday a couple weeks ago.
No need to worry about that.
All right, I will also be doing an Earth Day cleanup at 12:45, but I'll be at the Hornsdale Parkette. So I imagine we'll each be at different places because we have to do our social distancing. But just thank you, Councillor Tyler Moran, for leading in to my announcement. We have had to cancel the Ajax Mayor's Gala that was going to take place on June the 12th, which was expected. But as we talked about during the COVID-19 report by CEO Baker, the need is very much still in our community to raise funds. And due to the generosity of a lot of our local businesses, all the sponsors, I've been able to retain a large percentage of the funds that were sponsors of the gala. And what we're going to do is on April the 25th, this Saturday at 7 p.m., I'm going to be holding an online event with hopefully all of council and a lot of special guests. It's going to be at 7 p.m. It's going to be on our Ajax Mayor's Gala Facebook page, a live event. So it's facebook.com/Ajax Gala, I believe, but it's pretty easy to find. We're going to have a lot. I don't want to give anything away, but there's going to be a Mayor's Trivia Challenge and a few other things and a lot of special guests. So I'd like to invite everybody to join us. There is also going to be a way for viewers, instead of just the regular 200 or so people that go to these gala events, up to everybody. So we could have literally tens of thousands of residents from across the world if they wanted to. And there will be an option to make donations by text as well. So we're going to be able to benefit some really good local charities. The main ones we've chosen are Feed the Need Durham, of course, the food bank, which supplies the Salvation Army as well. Community Care Durham, which does the seniors Meals on Wheels programs. Durham Children's Aid, of course, and Horizon House for domestic violence. These are 4 charities that are become even more in need in times like this. So it's good to be able to put that money back into the community. So I hope you will all join us, and it should be a fun night. And it goes from 7 till 8, and then I think there's something after as well. So stay tuned, but hopefully you can join us then. Anything further from anybody?
No.
All right.
Stay safe.
Moving on to confirming bylaw, moved by Regional Councillor Dye, second by Regional Councillor Lee. The bylaw number 15-2020 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ajax at its electronic meeting held on April 20th, 2020, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Any comments? Being none, those in favor? Let's see those hands. There we go. That's carried. Almost done. Finally, adjournment moved by Councillor Tyler Moran, second by Councillor Khan, that the April 20th, 2020 meeting of the Council of the Town of Ajax be adjourned. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good job, Alex.
Bye.
As a government trying to avoid that, to be very honest, because those types of measures are incredibly difficult and going to be very painful for many people. And I think we want to go down that road if we absolutely have to. But as long as people are physical distancing, staying home, doing the right things, then we really can maintain kind of the intrusion that we have now. And I think if we start to see those numbers spiking, if we start to see in the warmer months people no longer taking these measures, then yeah, the government's going to act. But I think I think right now we've been going in the right direction. We need people to keep doing so.
All right, this week, an important week for those who find themselves out of work due to COVID-19. The Canadian Emergency Response Benefit came into being and people could finally apply online. How has it been working?
Yeah, so I think the numbers I saw yesterday, so they could be even higher today, but I think something like 4.5 million people have actually applied, whether it's EI or the CRB through Service Canada or CRA. And it's been going relatively well in the sense of I'm hearing that it's very user-friendly. Thank God it hasn't crashed.
Right.
The systems were being designed, obviously anticipating a huge uptake. And so we've converted a lot of our staff, our public service, for example, Service Canada, transitioning over to help with CRA. So we've been really doing a lot to get the staffing levels up. And I've even heard that people have actually received funds already. So I'm really, really thankful for the public servants who have been working to implement this, because the money is getting out the door and people really need it. So far we're thrilled, but we know there's going to be more work to do, and we know that this is just the first step.
So I have a question for you, actually, that came from a viewer that knew that we were going to be interviewing you, and in regards to the CERB. Their question is it taxable income? Do they have to report this on their income tax return? Do you know?
I don't believe it's taxable. It hasn't been in any of our kind of notes that have come out. So I'm not 100%, but it would be treated in the next tax season. I think we're going to have to look at the longer measures, to be quite honest. I don't think all of those details are even sorted, mainly because the idea, and the Prime Minister said this yesterday, the programs are meant to get out as quickly as possible, and we recognize they're not all going to be perfect.
Right.
And so some of these details in terms of how it's going to be handled in future taxation years, those details are still going to be forthcoming, but I believe it will be, I believe there will be measures put in place to really reduce any impacts.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the other things that you have been doing to, I guess, lessen the burden of COVID-19. Seniors specifically, let's talk about how you're helping them.
Yeah, so I think some of the measures that came out this week were in regards to some of our most vulnerable seniors. And so what we're hearing and what we're seeing on the ground are seniors who, they really can't or shouldn't be leaving their house because they might be vulnerable in terms of the health situation. And so they're relying on a lot of community supports for people going to get groceries or their medications and things like that. And we've seen a huge stress on kind of our systems there. So there was money invested in United Way Canada to help them support the local needs, help be able to serve seniors. There's other measures that we've done, in terms of some of the most vulnerable seniors would receive GST supplements, and we've upped those. So some of, again, the most vulnerable seniors would see more money flowing directly to them, and including seniors then who are very worried about their retirement savings and seeing the stock market. So we've changed the RIFs to allow for 25% in 2020. So withdrawals. So it's just kind of trying to keep in mind the volatile market that we're dealing with. So those are just a few of the measures, but we hear from more and more seniors. I know I certainly do, in terms of additional support. So I think it's something the government is looking very closely at. Our programs have been designed to really, it's kind of a triage situation, the most vulnerable people who have lost all their income. And then you're going to start to see the supports for, people who maybe have a little bit of income, or seniors who are maybe not at the most vulnerable, but need some extra help. And so that's where we're going to start looking at programs next.
Okay, income tax returns, you have extended the deadline, thank goodness.
Yes, to June 1st. And then if you're owing any money, then the payment would be extended to August 31st.
Do you see that extending any further, depending upon how this all plays out?
I mean, it's quite possible. I think at the time that was announced, that was seen as very far off. But now, as we see the data coming in and as we're seeing kind of projections, it's quite possible that we'll have to relook at that.
Okay, we have just under a minute left. I just want to throw this over to you. Your main message to residents who are understandably worried, but are beginning to panic. What do you say to them?
Reach out to our office, or if you don't live in my riding, reach out to your MP's office, because we do have a number of supports, and we recognize, again, not all of them are perfect, but the government's been very reactive. We have calls every single day, including on the weekends, and we're feeding this information into them. We've seen changes as a result of this feedback, so don't be afraid to send it to us. We need to know how on the ground it's working in order to make these changes.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us, and our thanks also to Scugog Mayor Bobby Drew. Until next time, I'm Deborah Hutchison. Stay safe, everyone, and stay home.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
My husband is a wonderful man and a great father when he's not drinking. I'm so angry he chooses alcohol over us. If he really loved us, he'd stop drinking, right? My counselor suggested I try Al-Anon. I didn't understand why. I'm not the one with the problem, but I'm glad I went. Do you worry about someone's drinking? You are not alone. Al-Anon or Alateen can help. Call 866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This is April 16th, 2020, and this is your COVID-19 local update. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. Today we are joined by two guests via video. Later in the show, we'll be talking to Oshawa MPP Jennifer French. But first up, we are joined by Uxbridge Mayor Dave Barton. Welcome, Mayor. How are you?
You know what? We're doing really well up here in Uxbridge. Doing well.
The numbers that come out every day from the Durham Health Department show currently, as of April 16th, 10 cases of confirmed COVID-19 in Uxbridge, significantly less in the northern communities than in southern Durham. Do you think that gives your community a false sense of security?
I wouldn't say a false sense of security, but we're certainly taking it really seriously up here. I know the numbers are going to come out today. We're going to have at least one additional case, and we're living the same things that they're living, in the south and up in Bobcaygeon. We're seeing some cases in our long-term care facilities, and we're extremely concerned, and we're very vigilant up here.
You've also mentioned that people are taking the physical distancing, from what you're seeing, very seriously. Other communities, there have been complaints, still about gatherings, people, not respecting that 6 feet distance. You're finding it different up there in Uxbridge, yes?
So certainly there are outliers, and there's some people that are taking it seriously, but the vast majority of people that I'm seeing in my community are taking this very seriously, whether they're going for walks on our sidewalks or on our streets, or in our grocery stores. We're all in this together, and I believe that my residents are extremely aware and are concerned about the impact that this is having, certainly from a local business perspective, and then from a health perspective for all of us. And we've been doing a hashtag for quite a while, do this for grandma. And
oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's certainly, we know this is hitting our senior population, and we need to make sure that everything that we do, as younger people and our kids and everything, that we're not doing it in vain. We need to make sure that we're taking those precautions so that we're not sharing this with the seniors in our community.
You also have mentioned that the community has really rallied around the needs in your community in responding to PPEs and the need for the shields or the masks. Let's talk a bit about that as well.
Okay, so let's start with the masks. Like other communities, we have anyone who sews, and even those that don't, they're making masks. So I think my mother has made 120 masks to be used by healthcare workers and for others. We have a couple local companies. One is Agile Manufacturing, and the other is Coal Pits Design. So Agile I'm just trying to remember the technology when you're printing plastic. Anyway, they're doing a lot of that. Coal Pits have actually built a plastic injection mold where they can make about 2,000 of these a day, which is unbelievable. So they're providing these to our healthcare workers. They had me drop them off at our long-term care facilities to make sure that we have the PPE that we need. And then another really fun project, I reached out to Slabtown Cider, if you see that,
nice.
To Slabtown Cider fairly early. And they went out and bought a still. They're using their leftover apples from their apple cider and making hand sanitizer. And it's awesome. It feels so good. It smells like apples.
That's the hand sanitizer I want to be using.
No, it's fantastic. So you can get it at Slabtown and make sure. The other thing, I think we're all dealing with this a little bit better when we're having 1 or 2 drinks a day. So their cider is awesome. So if you get a chance to come up.
Of course, local businesses have been hit hard everywhere. And this is the new reality, is it's forcing businesses to rethink how they do business.
Yeah.
Uxbridge not immune, correct?
Oh, for sure. I know my deputy mayor, Willie Pop, is in constant contact with our local businesses, even more than I am. But it's a big concern. You think of someone with a clothing store that's bought their entire spring line, and just when they should be selling it, they're forced to close their doors. We have restaurants that are used to a certain amount of traffic, and now pivoting to a delivery model is really, really difficult. And then, but what's really interesting is all those same people, our local Canadian Tire, Pat Higgins, even while his business is suffering, he's stepping up and helping the community. He's letting me know that he's got this many buckets of hand sanitizer. Who needs it? People are making donations to our food bank. People are supporting our healthcare workers, and I'm just when we're all taxed is when people really can step up, and I'm seeing that more and more in Uxbridge. Greatest community ever.
Yeah, you're also saying that the local hospital, we were talking about 10 or now 11 cases of COVID-19 in Uxbridge. The local hospital is still preparing for the worst case scenario, correct?
We are. So it's been about a month, and we had our two of our local family physicians, Dr. Jennifer Wilson and Dr. Carly Jensen, were concerned with what they were seeing in China and in Italy. And again, this is a month ago. Mm-hmm. And built a team of people, and it's doctors, nurses, business people, respiratory therapists, all work together on what we would do in Uxbridge if we ended up with 100 more cases, and how we would keep those people off the streets. And it's been incredible to watch this process. I've been a part of that team, and we looked at a bunch of different facilities and a bunch of different options, and we've decided on the arena. We don't think we're going to need it, but if we do, we have a plan in place. We have beds secured. We have contractors that can move in and quickly make this happen. And even Bell Canada, we let them know that we had no cell service and no Wi-Fi in our arena, and within a week and a half, we had a microcell site installed and operational. And that's because Bell wanted to step up and make sure that these types of things were looked after. So to go from no cell service in an arena to a cell site installed and operating in just over a week is unbelievable. And I'm seeing that type of response across our community. And again, to that team of people that have organized this hospital, the whole time hoping that once we're done the plan, we can shelve it and never use it. Again, just continues to amaze me, and just the way everybody's stepping up, including my own staff.
Your own staff, your own wife is a doctor. She works at a hospital in another community, and she works with COVID-19 patients. How has that affected, your life at home and her life?
So we've isolated for a long time. I've been to the office once in the last month. We're in constant video. We're doing video conferences all the time. But I feel that there's a pretty good chance I'm going to end up with this virus just because of what my wife does for a living, and we're isolating from the community because of that. So I'm not going to the office. We're ready in case we have to go in, but almost everything's remote. We've been doing. I think we've had 4 local council meetings using Microsoft Teams. We hired our CAO in December, mm-hmm. and she came from the IT world. So she was already moving us towards a fully online business model, and we moved very quickly. So almost everybody has laptops. We're using them. We don't have any in-person meetings, and we haven't now for 30 days at least. So we've done all the right things, and I'm so impressed with our team. Even those people that are completely non-technical, to be doing, video conferences every morning as we look at our emergency management. Great. My team's awesome.
How do you go through your day, though, knowing that, as you said, eventually you honestly believe that at one point you're going to come down with this?
Well, you know what? You do what you need to do. You get the right exercise. You eat the right foods, mostly. We had some Ben and Jerry's problems in our house. But again, we're taking it really seriously, but we are treating ourselves as if we have the virus. It's just how we're living our lives here, and not, I haven't seen my parents for a couple months. We the majority of families had used Zoom to have our Easter celebrations. Mm-hmm. The world changed so much in the last 30 days. and you can embrace it or you can fight it, and we've embraced it.
So with your wife on the front line, I'm sure you've had many conversations about the condition in our hospitals. From those conversations, what message do you have for people out there?
So what I'm hearing from her and her colleagues is make sure the things that we can do to support them, the biggest thing is to protect them. And the way to protect them is make sure that they're not doing procedures that are putting them at risk. And two times that healthcare workers are in big risk. One is when you're putting in a ventilator, and the other is when you're performing CPR. So if you have a loved one who, if they get this virus, are not going to get out of it, if they're elderly or they're already sick, make sure that you've got advanced care directives in place so that you're not putting our healthcare workers' lives at risk in vain. So talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, and make sure that you know their wishes before they end up in an ER, because I'm sure most of them would not want to know that because of the steps that the healthcare workers took, that they infected, a team of doctors and nurses with families. It's a pretty morbid conversation, but it's one that's necessary, and we need to be having those.
Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes. I want to get to a couple of other things. It may not be business as usual, but business continues. The wheels of business continue to turn at Town Hall. The Brock Street culvert, COVID-19 is not going to stop that construction there, is it?
So no, we are still operating. We've actually got a huge amount of work done in the last 30 days. We've got our parallel culvert is in north of Brock Street. They're backfilling the culvert right now, and we're trying to get Brock Street closed as quickly as we can to make sure that we've closed the road while our local businesses are closed anyway. So we are pushing as fast as we can through that process.
Almost makes it a little easier then for that project to continue.
Yeah, if there is any silver lining when it comes to COVID-19, it's that while our downtown would be mostly closed anyway, we can get some of these construction projects done. And I'm seeing that happen on regional projects as well. We're trying to get as many of these paving projects done when there's very limited traffic.
Okay, just another minute left. Quickly, with closures to the trails are closed, correct?
They're not. So Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority have closed all their trail systems. So that's Durham Forest is the big one.
Yes.
Toronto Regional Conservation Authority have closed their parking lots, but the trails are use at your own risk. And in Uxbridge, our trails are open, but for all the people from outside of Uxbridge, please don't come. The reason our trails are open is so our locals can get out and walk and get outside and enjoy nature. Mm-hmm. We will close them really quickly if we get traffic coming from the south or from anywhere.
Okay.
We're only keeping them open because people can physically distance from
residents. Okay, Mayor Barton, we are out of time. I'm going to have to stop you there. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. We wish you all the best. And to those of you watching us, stay with us after the break. MPP Jennifer French.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad's my rig?
10. We drilled to the bottom of the ocean, and we don't know what came out.
I can't believe you talked to all my people and say you want to fight for me.
If we can look at ourselves closely, we can change this world for the better. We all need mercy.
And welcome back to your COVID-19 local update. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. Joining us now via video is Oshawa MPP Jennifer French. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing throughout all of this?
I think I'm doing what most of us are doing, which is managing. I'm very grateful to have a role in all of this. My staff and I are pretty darn busy, staying connected with folks who are in lots of different struggles and circumstances throughout all of this. So I can't complain. I am set up in my basement apartment. Not right now. I've actually come up to the main floor. But I'm working from home, of course, to do our best to stop the spread. And I sit beside my sliding patio door and I watch my neighbors' kids do gymnastics and dance and prance for me. So I'm still feeling a bit connected to the broader world. So
now, so the day we're taping this, April 16th, 2020, yesterday, you sent a letter to Premier Ford calling on him to push GM to produce PPEs at the Oshawa plant. Let's talk about that letter and why you took the step to contact the Premier about this.
Okay, well, I mean, certainly everyone who drives by the almost empty facility in Oshawa wonders what it could be used for, especially right now as we are hearing about different corporate partners and different businesses coming up with innovative ways to help out during this crisis. Certainly, we've been getting emails from workers or just from neighbors who were suggesting the same thing, that space be utilized in this battle against COVID-19. And we have a community group, Green Jobs Oshawa, different groups who have been pushing. I don't think it's anything that isn't kind of an instinctive ask. We have a ready and raring to go workforce who want to help in this fight and to keep our frontline safe, our first responders and frontline healthcare workers, and doing anything that they can. I mean, it is such a dire need for masks and for personal protective equipment. And I think that there's a real opportunity there that, as we've seen in Warren, Michigan, General Motors, it took them just a week to go from the idea, putting it together and creating samples, and now their capacity looks to be 1.5 million masks produced in a month, and they could replicate that here. They recalled workers, they retooled the facility. We've seen in Kokomo, Indiana, General Motors is working with Ventec Life Systems to create ventilators. I wonder if that's an option here. And I know that General Motors has been partnering with OPG and Ontario Tech with face shields, but imagine the potential at the plant and facility here. And so I asked the Premier if he would push General Motors and help them be part of what could be a really big help in this fight to keep Canadians safer.
Have you heard any response yet? And I guess realistically, I mean, he can push all he wants, but it's up to GM, is it not?
Yeah, I guess so. And General Motors has responded. There are a couple articles that I've seen that used pieces of my letter and had some remarks from General Motors. I'm not going to quote them, but the gist was that they are interested in being partners in the fight, and that they are working on different projects and are looking for new opportunities. So I don't know what that could look like. I have heard before that General Motors Canada was wanting to use this plant for kind of a gathering place of supplies as a distribution center. Mm-hmm. I make no comment about what's happening there now. I don't know, but I know that the potential is really important to push for. I mean, there's a lot at stake, and now is the time. Yesterday was the time. Last week was the time, but
a month ago was the time.
Yeah, and there is an urgency. We know that, but when we see what happened in Warren, Michigan, where General Motors, put it together in under a week, the learning is done. I would love to. I'd love to see that replicated here. And if that's not a possibility, then I'd like to hear why not.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to, I guess, long-term care and the situation in long-term care facilities across Ontario. It becomes more dire every day with more deaths. There have been deaths at Hillsdale. They're certainly not the only one. You yourself have a grandmother in a retirement community locally. First off, how is Grandma doing?
Grandma's doing very well. Grandma just turned 99, and I think she's finding things a little bit boring and lonely, but as of today, everyone is healthy in that particular retirement residence, so that is a relief. And I don't think I know that is a really it's a major concern for everyone across the community. You know, their loved ones who are on the other side of the wall, so to speak, in long-term care and retirement homes. So, you know, certainly our hearts go out to those who are anxious, to those who have loved ones who are sick, and certainly our condolences to those who have passed, have loved ones who have passed. It is tragic, and certainly there is a need. And there has been the need leading up to this to stop the spread and do everything that we can to keep our seniors safe.
What has to change in long-term care to make it safer for both residents and for staff?
Great question. Certainly, we have been calling for more staff to be able to, pay them properly, to retain them, to attract them. But also, we as opposition have been suggesting for quite some time that we stop the flow of personal support workers and staff from home to home. Many of them are cobbling together full-time employment, working at different homes. And so right now, as we see, the spread of a virus, we know that we need to stop the spread of people, frankly. So we're glad to see that the government has stepped up on that front to say that personal support workers and those working in long-term care facilities that they have to choose one facility to work at, and that there won't be traveling back and forth. The problem still remains that there's a loophole with those employed through temporary agencies. They supply a lot of the labor, a lot of the staffing. So we need to tighten that up. But still, we are calling for fair wages to attract and to retain. That has been a real challenge. There are a lot of pieces that have to fit together when it comes to our seniors' care. We certainly are listening to public health and echoing their recommendations. And then as we come out the other side of this eventually, we really do all need to have the conversation around how we care for our seniors and what our long-term care system looks like. There was a lot of conversation yesterday and in recent days about the lack of proactive inspections, that inspections in long-term care homes are reactive, almost entirely based on when there's a complaint. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something we have to recognize we shouldn't accept. A lot of boomers are recognizing that our system won't sustain them. And right now we're seeing that it's a danger because of, we've gotten to this point through chronic underfunding and understaffing, and everyone has been kind of sounding the alarm for years. So here we find ourselves, but if we do our best at this point, there is a lot that can change, and it needs to change quickly to ensure that everybody's loved ones are kept safe.
If there is a silver lining to this, you and I have spoken previously about just the community support and the community reaction, and how the Oshawa community is rallying against those in need over COVID-19.
Yeah. Oh, it's been, this is a heart-wrenching situation. No matter how you look at it, whether you're considering the business side, small and medium-sized businesses, if you're looking at renters and homeowners. If you're looking at those who are homeless and precariously housed, this is gut-wrenching. But you don't have to look very far to see heartwarming caring that is happening. You know, the Caremongers group, or if you look at the Backdoor Mission downtown Oshawa, it has been remarkable to see them fill the gaps and do their best to meet the ever evolving and ever growing need downtown. You know, as soon as the pandemic sort of started up, we had places that shut down in the immediate wake of that, and the Backdoor Mission, as an example, really rose to the occasion and continues to, and is building, as we're seeing with other organizations, building quite a network of partnerships to support people in the best way that is possible and that we can imagine. And I'm so impressed with all of our community organizations. I always have been, but it is unbelievable. It is just remarkable to see the amount of caring, and I mean, everyone is giving 150% and is driven, I'd say, by adrenaline right now, but also by the need to care for those who really are in bad circumstances right now.
As well as the support that we've seen for the healthcare workers as well, with the convoys rolling past the hospital and shouting thanks and honking their horns. Well,
and at 7:30 every night, everyone should be out with pots and pans and banging and hooting and hollering, and expressing their appreciation. That is something for our healthcare workers locally and across the province, that people can go out and make some noise and share their appreciation for healthcare workers. We are so grateful for them and for all of our frontline workers.
We just have under a minute left, but I just want to, leave the last word to you for a final thought to the people of Oshawa out there.
I miss them. Oshawa is a strong community. We will come out the other side of this somehow and find our way back together. And right now, I hope that people are able to take some comfort from each other, pick up the phone and call some loved ones, reach out. And certainly I would ask everyone to connect with our office online or by phone with their concerns, their questions, or their ideas. We're working full tilt, sharing those ideas with the government and doing our best to help to put these pieces together.
Thanks so much to Oshawa MPP Jennifer French for joining us, and thanks to Uxbridge Mayor Dave Barton, who joined us earlier, and thanks to all of you. Once again, stay home and stay safe.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Was that 4 or 5? He's lost count and still thinks he can drive. Do you think he knows that when he is caught and charged with impaired driving, he'll lose his license and a lot more? If he gets in his car, he'll face costs exceeding $20,000. Does he realize he could have a criminal record for his choice to drive? And it could be much worse if he crashes. I wonder what he'll be thinking tomorrow.
Have a Holden 1 at 15.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Welcome to Pathways to Success. I'm Don Reist. Mental illness is a topic that many feel uncomfortable discussing. In fact, in some cases, people find it totally taboo. The fact is that our mental health is just as important as our physical health, and many times one can greatly affect the other. Whether one suffers from depression, anxiety, simply the winter blues, or any other form of mental illness, it can affect your life. At times, the impact is great. Now, today's guests are with the Canadian Mental Health Association of Durham. The CMHA offers many excellent programs to help people suffering from mental health problems to get back on a pathway to success. I'd like to welcome Alec King, Communication Lead, and Marion Waffle, a peer support worker with the CMHA, to the show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, Don. Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I think the first thing we should point out to people is just how predominant mental health issues are in society.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the statistic is that 1 in every 4 Canadians will at some point in their life have an issue with their mental health. But that's only in terms of people who are diagnosed, people actually reach out looking for help. In reality, we'll find that people probably will have so many instances in their life where they'll suffer from some kind of mental health issue, where there'll be anxiety or depression, something like that, and they won't reach out, and they'll suffer quietly in silence because of the stigma that's all around mental health. So in reality, when we say 1 in 4, it's most likely significantly higher than that.
Well, I fully agree with you because, as you know, Alec, I work with children who are identified. And we talk about disabilities being like 15% of the population. There is no way only 15%. They're the identified ones. And just like in the school with the children being identified, maybe 15%, but you look at the children who struggle to get a B or even struggle, really struggle to get a C. Well, there's some help needed there, but they're not identified.
No, absolutely.
And in the case of mental health, I don't want my child or my friend or my husband or my father, people think he's crazy. Because immediately they think crazy. They don't really realize what mental health is truly all about. So how do they affect how do these different things actually affect an individual's life?
Oh, in all kinds of ways. I mean, just when you were talking about someone saying that they didn't want their family member or something like that to have a mental health issue, really a lot of it can just be something that's internal. People don't want themselves to have a mental health issue. So as opposed to dealing with any of these issues, they'll internalize them and they'll kind of suffer quietly. So someone with depression may never reach out for help, and their case will just get significantly worse. They'll get more upset, they'll get more depressed, and that could lead to all kinds of really terrible and unfortunate circumstances. People sometimes, instead of going out and talking to a psychiatrist or going out and seeking help, they might start self-medicating with drugs, things like that, and that can have terrible results.
Well, this is exactly right. The self-medication is a huge one. They start playing around with pharmaceutical drugs.
Exactly.
They start playing around with recreational drugs. They take up smoking, for crying out loud. We don't think about it, but they do. It's just something, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting part is, quite often, because they don't reach out for help, they really don't know what they're suffering from. And what I'm going to give an example of is that my mother always suffered from great anxiety. But she always thought she had depression. And I kept saying to my mother, well, my understanding of the two, I'd say you have anxiety. You need to bring this up to your doctor. Finally, she did. And the doctor says, you're not depressed, you have anxiety. And there's a big difference. What are some of the more common ones, Alec?
More common mental
of the mental issues, yes.
Well, I mean, there's a lot, and I mean, there's things that people suffer from every day. Depression is very, very common, and like you said, depression and anxiety, and there's a lot of kind of crossplay between those, where people might have those things related and suffer from them even at the same time.
Oh, yes.
And there's also, I mean, major mental health issues. I mean, the ones that you tend to hear a lot and people think about when they think about mental health, like, I mean, schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder, things like that. But in reality, everything kind of exists in a spectrum, and it's something that everyone needs to look at and maintain. We all need to be responsible for our own mental health, and we all need to look after each other as well.
The spectrum that you brought up is an excellent point. The fact is, for any type of thing in this life, most things are somewhere on a spectrum. I'm ADHD, and I'm the daydreamer. I'm the guy who drives out. And when it comes to the spectrum, I'm probably pretty high on the spectrum, because unless I keep myself fascinated or occupied, I'll drift on out, right? But then you also get the person who For example, they have trouble holding their focus occasionally. Now, nobody's going to say you're ADHD, but in reality, you're kind of on the spectrum, but at the very high end, you're fully functional, right? And people, even with schizophrenia and some of the more things that people hope they don't have, there's got to be, again, certain levels of it.
No, absolutely. And that's why people need to reach out. I mean, with these kind of things, people have such a big fear around being diagnosed or being identified as having these issues that it keeps them from actually reaching out and looking for help. And someone may have something that is manageable and treatable and maybe is not as severe as they think, but they'll never know unless they actually reach out and go for help.
Well, I like to keep relating back to, again, the child who's identified to people with mental health issues. I'm not saying the child identified has a mental health issue, but quite often parents say, well, I don't want my child identified. I don't want them having a label. This is where the two are very common. And yet, if they get identified, they'll get what they call an IEP, an individual education plan. And when especially when they hit the university or college level, the university or college will bend over backwards to help these kids. Not having them identified, they don't get that special help.
No, exactly.
They don't get the help they need. They're actually doing their child a disservice by not having them identified. It's the very same with a person with have a mental health issue. If they're having problems, identify it, and otherwise, how are you going to get treatment?
No, absolutely. And that's why you'll see, I mean, all these initiatives that are out there to kind of talk about mental health and bring it out into the public. The more we talk about it, the more we shine a light on these kind of things and discuss them, it takes away the concept that they're bad or wrong, or there's something that people need to hide.
Nothing bad about it.
Exactly. It's a natural part of life.
That's right. Now, we discussed just before the show a little bit about the CMHA and what it does, and you talked about, I'd like to know a little bit about its history and role, but more about all the things, like you said, you can actually go into homes, you can reach out to people.
Oh, absolutely. We're a community-based integrated mental health hub and primary care facility. We're at 60 Bond Street in Oshawa, so we are right in the heart of downtown. We are near the GO bus station, so it's very easy and convenient to get to. We offer services for people from a wide variety of what people could be looking for. We have services where people can just basically walk into the building right away anytime we're open, and they can speak with someone right away about the services they need. They can be triaged to whatever kind of services are going to be best for them. Now, that could be someone who is coming in for a physical health issue, and for some reason or another, they're having a difficulty finding a family doctor. We have a nurse practitioner-led clinic, which is a fantastic resource that can provide all kinds of care and support for people. Or it could be someone who is looking for case management services. And we have also a lot of case management services as well, and no waiting list for that. People can come in and immediately start working with the case manager.
Now that is fabulous, because trying to find that type of help and to have it immediately.
Yes, yeah, and we serve all of Durham region. So we go all the way up into the north, we go over into Bowmanville, out into Ajax. We are covering a large area. So if anyone needs help and can reach out to us, they can call. They can reach us online.
That's what I was just going to ask. If somebody's in a panic situation, can they pick up the phone and call?
It depends. If someone's looking for crisis services, there are other resources in the community for that we would direct them to. But if someone's connected with our services, if they have a case manager or they're receiving services from one of our programs and they're in a crisis, then when they're available, we would absolutely like people to call, because that way we can get them in touch and we can start putting the support in place that they need.
And of course, I guess what's really important is even if they're not associated with you and they call in their panic, you can direct them.
Exactly. And that's actually a big part of our community connection services, is that someone can come in and say, I need help. And even if we don't provide the exact kind of help they're looking for, we'll get them connected with that service. So say if someone comes in looking for something that it's just not a service we provide, we can find the right place that they should be going to, and we'll get them connected with that. And that includes completing a referral, sending it off.
I get the same thing time and time again from people looking for help, and whatever it is, I don't know where to turn. Then this is why something like the CMHA is so important. They may or may not handle that, but they know who does.
No, absolutely. We want to make sure that there's no wrong door, that people can come into CMHA, look for services, and we'll make sure that when they leave, they're getting something that they need.
Now, one of the interesting offerings of the CMHA, and it's fairly new, in fact, very new, is the Recovery College Wellness Center, which I'm going to discuss in detail shortly. We're going to get right into it. But what other offerings and services does CMHA offer to help people overcome their problem? What do you find to be the most common thing you need to do?
With our services, everyone is so diverse and everyone's needs are so diverse. So we offer a lot of housing services, which we have units throughout Durham region where people are housed in the community at a subsidized rate, making it easier for them to afford to living, because rent is very, very high. And
it's unbelievable.
And it can be very difficult for someone who's on ODSP or
it's
OW.
almost impossible for somebody.
Exactly.
ODSP is almost a joke.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, we want to make sure that people who are in that situation, we can help them as best we can. Now, that service, unfortunately, we do have a wait list for, but we can also help people with the skills they need to be set up inside of where they're currently living. So if someone comes for case management, case managers can help them develop the skills that they would need to stay in their apartment.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this is something people need to understand. Our system works in such a way that you've got to get yourself into the system.
Absolutely.
If you're outside the system, well, your waiting list doesn't start until you get inside the system. So you can sit there for 10 years. You're not moving forward because you're not in the system.
No, exactly.
You got to reach out, get in the system, and people like yourselves and the other agencies can then say, okay, we can move towards helping you. Now, we're going to take a break in a moment, but just before I want to ask Marion, let's just start off the topic by just telling me, in general, what is the Recovery College Wellness Center?
So Recovery College Wellness Center, or the RCWC, is an education-based program. We've gone through a few iterations of a drop-in program, and people were asking for something more structured where they could learn more skills. And so the RCWC is the response to that, as well as the co-design component, which I'll speak to more as well.
Yeah, as soon as we get back, we'll do that.
Absolutely. It's developed with peers helping to develop the program. So it's written, some of it's written by the people it's for.
Excellent.
And delivered by the people it's for as well. I started as a client there, and I'm helping to deliver and also take some of the programs that are on offer at the RCWC currently. It's a very new program. It did a soft launch in the winter, and January 1st did its first full launch, and it's only growing as well. Each semester is going to have more and more components.
So obviously, initially it's taking off.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's what we want something. We want to see this thing take off because, as we mentioned before the show, man, it is something that was needed. We're going to take a break, but when we get back, we're going to talk all about the Recovery College Wellness Program.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Great. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
2 dead in Grand Lake massacre.
You okay? You think they're connected?
We are talking about a massacre of innocent people here.
It's our first Halloween since we started. We can't just sit at home.
This is Meg, Amy, Beth, and Joe.
I'm so sick of people saying that love is just all a woman is fit for. I'm so sick of it.
Well, welcome back to Pathways to Success. We're talking with the CMHA of Durham, and right now we're on a very interesting topic. We're talking about the Recovery College Wellness Program, and we're talking to Marion, who's one of the lead people involved in it. And I think before we go any further, we should even point out what your background is and how you got to be where you are.
Absolutely. So I started out as a client at CMHA. I started probably 6 years ago, going on and off through different programs, different services. The case management was very important for me. I'd gone to programs at different drop-ins, youth program when it existed. And a couple of years ago, I was shown a video of someone in Toronto, a man named Kevin Healy, who runs the Hearing Voices group out there. And it resonated with me very much. As someone who's heard things, seen things other people don't my whole life.
Right.
It really resonated that someone was talking about it in terms of a normal human experience, and not something exactly, not something to be shamed or stigmatized, not something that means you're going to be violent.
Well,
or
just think how many people talk to themselves, for crying out loud. I mean, it's the same type of thing.
Absolutely, yes, and it's almost predictable in some circumstances. When someone experiences the loss of a loved one or a significant trauma, it's almost predictable that they're going to hear something, see something that others can't. And hearing those things talked about in that way really resonated with me, and one thing led to another. I eventually ended up running one of those groups in Oshawa, and that's been a couple years now, and my experience as a peer led me to more programs within CMHA.
Right.
I took their RAP program, Wellness Recovery Action Program. I took the peer support training. I had no intention of being a peer supporter at that time. I simply felt I needed more skills, more coping mechanisms for myself, for my toolbox. But by the end of it, they offered me a position. I thought, why not? I'll try it. And it ended up being amazing. I learned a lot from it. I was able to give back some of the things that I'd been given. And this newest iteration, the Wellness Recovery College Wellness Center, RCWC, is an education-based program. It's based on giving people those skills, and also coming together as people, as peers, people who understand each other's struggles, coming together, and in some cases more recreation-based programs. I run a friendship circle. It's a general discussion group where people just come together
and people are going to accept you because you've gone through it yourself.
Exactly.
They don't say, well, here's some old geezer who's never ever experienced it in his life trying to give me guidance and support. This is somebody who's had to battle it themselves and learn how to overcome and move ahead. I mean, did you ever have any dream that you would end up in a position like this?
Not remotely. To be honest, I did not have any dream. I thought as a teenager I would not survive to be 20.
Yeah.
And here I am at 28, living happily.
And doing an incredible service and an incredible new program.
Thank you.
I mean, this talk about a pathway to success. You saw the possibility, you grabbed it, you jumped on it, you followed it, and you're doing nothing but improving not only the lives of others, but you're improving your own life constantly.
Absolutely.
The more you talk with these people, the more you're going to learn about it.
Exactly.
And
it
yourself.
was learning from other peers, other people who had experienced these things that I helped myself recover. It was in hospital when I was 16 that I met a man named Paul, and he gave me his toolkit that had helped him. And
this is what I love about this whole idea of this center. These people can get together, if nothing else, even just talking with each other.
Oh, exactly. And
absolutely.
That's very similar to the group Marion runs around the discussion circle.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity, friendship circle. It's an opportunity for people to talk with other people who have that same kind of lived experience. They can go through and they can talk. And sometimes the conversation, like you said, is very, it can just be very simple about things that they want to talk about, or it can be really deep and talk about their personal experiences and their life and trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this is it, and one of my understanding was from reading your note actually, is that this center focuses not on your problems, but on your strengths.
Right.
So, what are the type of materials built into this?
Right. So currently, I'm actually taking as a student a couple courses. I'm taking a Facilitation 101 course, Adult Learning Principles course, Co-Design course, which I'll touch on.
Okay.
I'm facilitating the Friendship Circle. I'm helping to facilitate a leadership course. So These are courses, for me, I selected based around what I'm looking for. There are other recreation-based. There's a smart exercises course. There's going to be yoga. There's...
well, that's excellent.
Absolutely. And the course selection is only growing as we do the co-design piece.
That was one of my questions.
Right.
Which courses can they pick? How many are there at the moment? And I imagine it's just taking off.
Exactly. Right now, I think there are about 20.
Wow, that's not bad at all. Just starting.
Exactly. And the aim is to have about 45 from what I remember. And it increases as the course, each semester, there's going to be a co-design piece. And I've been taking the co-design piece in order to develop a new course.
Right.
So I've been working on that the last few weeks.
Now, do you have instructors that help with these courses?
Yes, they are on-the-floor clinicians and peer specialists who help us develop the courses in terms of what resources we need, what we need to present it to other parts of the agency. They're there to give us all the resources we need, but respecting they have a lot on their plate developing their own courses. We've taken it on to develop courses with us in mind and
well, another important aspect, Marion, of that about this program is I understand that you have peers in all aspects of college life.
Exactly. So each course, even if it's led by a clinician, even if it's clinical material that they're going through, there is a peer present, at least to support people. If what I do in the leadership course, it's a very structured course, but I can model behavior that's helpful in the course. I can model listening behavior. I can go talk to someone if they're having trouble staying in class. I can talk to them in class if they need support there. So I'm filling a lot of different roles in the RCWC as a peer and as a student.
I mean,
it's so interesting.
This is a guy who didn't think he'd make 20.
Exactly. Exactly.
Here he is, taking a huge. Alec, it's wonderful.
It is fantastic, and I mean, there's a lot of people like Marion inside of the Recovery College Wellness Center, and we're happy that they're able to provide this kind of service to the community and also to everyone who's already dealing with these kind of issues. It makes it a much more valuable experience for people with mental health issues to see people who are going through exactly what they're going through and not only surviving but thriving.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, what type? Okay, we talk about, it's a college. You call it a college. You're trying to build up to 40 or 50 programs.
Right.
So, what is kind of the variety of the programs out there, Alec?
Out there
in the recovery.
Oh, in the recovery college.
Yeah.
So there's a wide variety, and like Marion mentioned, they're constantly expanding and developing more things. There's opportunities for people to develop the skills they need to be a peer supporter, and they can do that either inside of the college or they can develop that and work that outside in the community into other aspects of what they'd like to do. There's also things that are built around soft skills, which is the skills that employers are looking for, things like time management, communication, things like
organization.
that. Exactly, yeah. And that's an opportunity for people to come in. We've had people come to that program, participate in it, and say, this is what I was missing. I went out in the workplace, this wasn't working for me, but really I needed to sit through
I didn't realize this was an important aspect of working in an environment.
Exactly.
Right.
People say, well, how come they don't know it? Well, they don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Plain and simple, they don't know it.
And this is something that really, honestly,
people would say,
can benefit from.
There's old saying is you dress for the job or you dress for your next job, right?
Right.
But a lot of people have never heard that.
No.
Yes.
So they don't realize that their attire can even make a big effect on things.
No, absolutely.
So a program that goes through all these, quote, employability skills.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other programs in addition to employability skills that kind of look at life skills. We have a financial management group.
Oh, wow. A lot of people have no idea how to do that.
No, exactly. And that could be simple things like, paying taxes or how rent works. We actually also have a Rent Smart program that's one of the few that are actually offered inside of Ontario where it's an opportunity for people to learn how you would rent. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that if you rent an apartment, you have rights, but you also have responsibilities.
Exactly.
And this teaches them about how to be safe, how to be smart, and how to make sure that you're able to stay living in your apartment.
You
for
have a
as long as possible.
safety something or other coming up in March at the Wellness Center?
Yeah, we have a safety expo coming up at actually that's out of CMHA Durham as a whole. We have a lot of community partners who are coming and participating with us. We're very lucky to have John Howard Society, Region of Durham, and many, many others who are going to be participating. And it's a great opportunity for people to come and see the agency and see all the partner agencies, everything that they're doing in the community to help make this a safer place for everybody.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left, so I'd like to know, how does one qualify to be part of this incredible program?
You just come down to 60 Bond Street West. It is a fully, you do not need a referral from a physician or anything like that. You need to come in, you meet with triage, and you identify that this is something that you would like to do. You might not even know it is. Maybe you'll come in, you'll talk about what your needs and what you want, and they might think that this might work for you.
Is there any cost to the participants?
No, it is completely free.
Oh, wow. Now, how is all that funded then?
It is...
I mean, you obviously get funding from someone.
Yeah, we're very lucky that we've been funded by the provincial government still.
Good.
Yep. But it is something that we're looking to expand and we're looking to grow. So we're looking for opportunities.
Well, may I suggest, and I do want to make a very serious suggestion here, because you are prepping a lot more employable people. And I've always been, everybody knows from my previous show, I'm always pushing employment.
Yeah.
The fact is, with your courses and you're getting people trained to be employable and to do a job, and of course people with disabilities are fabulous employees.
Absolutely.
Reach out to some of the companies and say, look, this is the programs we want to offer. You're looking for funding.
That's a great idea.
And actually tell them what it is you're looking for. Well, gentlemen, I am so glad you came.
Thank you so much.
I've had a great time with this.
Absolutely.
Me too. This has been wonderful.
So I'd like to thank you. Now, the fact is, we may be out of time today, but believe me, you're not out of time if you're looking for help. The fact is, mental health is going to affect people across almost everything, practically everywhere.
Yep.
And so reach out for help, because if you don't reach out for help, you're not going to get on a pathway to success, and if you do, by George, you will. I'm Don Reese. See you next time on Pathways to Success.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
On the next episode of Cinema Scene, Curse Films writer-director Jade Shield discusses the insightful 5-part documentary series on movies like The Exorcist, The Omen, and Poltergeist, now streaming on Shudder. Check it out.
Anything at all. He's that strong.
Joe Schuster, will you stop it or you'll miss your train? Now help me find number 5.
Strong, but by day he's a mild-mannered reporter. Glasses, a secret identity.
Honestly, you Canadian kids.
He'd be in this cape.
A what?
A cape, wearing these blue tights.
A hero in tights, really. Here it is.
Listen, Lois, this guy is faster than anything, I swear.
If you're not fast, you're gonna miss your train.
That's it. A bullet. He's faster. No, he's faster than a speeding bullet.
Come on, get on it. No one's gonna read a comic strip about a strong man in tights, Joe. It'll never fly.
Fly, no. But he can leap over tall buildings. Oh, wow, yeah.
See what your cousin Frank says in Toronto.
Wait, Lois. I've got something for you. Take it. It's a gift. You never know. It might be worth something someday. Is he great or what? Bye-bye, Lois.
This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talk Politics. I'm Deborah Hutchison here in the Rogers TV studio. It is April the 14th, 2020. Joining us via video today, yes, we are practicing our social and physical distancing, is Ajax Mayor Sean Collier. Mayor Collier, thanks so much for joining us today and taking time out of your very busy schedule.
My pleasure, Deborah. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course, COVID-19, let's just jump with both feet right into it. You've been very vocal on social media in regards to the social distancing and the physical distancing, even to the point one weekend of going down to the waterfront and voicing your displeasure at the number of cars that were parked along the road. Mm-hmm. Has it gotten any better?
Actually, it's gotten a lot better, and I have to thank the good residents of Ajax for taking those requests seriously and working together. I mean, we all have a vested interest in this. We all are getting a little cabin feverish and frustrated and want to get out and do things, but we need to do it safely. So yes, the measures we took were effective. I'm very glad that we didn't have to go any further and close any things further. And it has worked. And so people are listening, and I think the numbers are showing that.
Of course, many municipalities have stepped up bylaw enforcement. They say they're moving one step ahead from the education to now, handing out tickets for infractions. How busy has Ajax's bylaw department been?
I'm not aware that we have handed out any infractions for not maintaining distancing. I think we've been taking a real proactive educational approach, and people have been very receptive, but I have had them crack down hard on the parking. When we closed rec centers and closed everything, we recognized that people would be staying home, we would have more cars, and so we relaxed our proactive street enforcement of parking, but we have rescinded that along the waterfront, Lake Driveway and Lakeview areas because of the problem we've been having. Now, we're still having some parking on the interior streets in that vicinity, and that's fine. I mean, we're not going to get crazy about this unless we have to. We are all taxpayers. We all want to enjoy our property. The roads belong to everybody, so people have a right to park there. It's just a matter of trying to stop the gathering and the congregation that we are getting. So those measures have been effective, and again, our bylaw people are out for safety. We don't want to ticket people so far we haven't for gathering, and I hope it stays that way.
The fines are no small pocket change, are they?
No, they need to be significant. I liken it to using your cell phone in your car. I mean, in the beginning, it was a relatively small ticket, and it wasn't very effective. Now it's $1,000 ticket or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't ever expect.
And you don't want to find out, do you?
I'm not going to find out. No. But again, it has to be significant to be effective. It has to be a deterrent, and it is a deterrent. Same with businesses. I mean, we still have some, not so much businesses. I know of some places to worship and some others that have continued on a smaller scale. I think those have stopped now too. But again, it needs to be significant to be effective. So you do what you have to do.
We heard reports this past weekend, Easter weekend, still of some family get-togethers. Mm-hmm. Why do you think some people, not the majority, but some people just aren't getting the message, or they feel that the rules don't apply to them?
Well, that's just it. They maybe just don't understand the significance and the severity of this virus and the situation that we're in. I don't know how anybody can't get it now at this point. I mean, it's not, the numbers are clearly showing that this is not going to stop without some serious action and commitment. I don't know why people would choose to do that. They could be thinking, I've had this conversation with a few people. For instance, I've been in pretty solid isolation since March the 12th. So technically, I mean, if I haven't been out of the house in 2 weeks and my neighbors haven't been out of the house in 2 weeks and we got together for dinner, probably okay. Maybe people figure along those lines. But what they're not understanding is, anybody, maybe I am very strict, but you just don't know how strict the other party is. And you don't know whether they stop for gas on the way to your house or stop at the LCBO for a bottle of wine to bring for dinner. You don't know. So, I mean, it's definitely inconvenient. Some people are choosing to just ignore that inconvenience. I don't know what to say to that. That's just human nature, I guess.
You know what? And it's very clear that community spread is happening.
Absolutely.
It is not all tied to travel anymore. It is community spread. And some people that are young and, that we hear that they've had no pre-existing conditions are getting incredibly ill and, in fact, dying from this.
Well, I think some of our youth feel they're invincible. I get it. Was there at one point. But I mean, you learn very quickly now that it's getting out there. And it's the same with things like vaping. It's people are not understanding the hazards. But, medical science isn't lying about this and people are dying. So let's hope that they do get with the program.
The numbers that the public health post daily keep us up to date. How concerned are you when you see these numbers continuing to go up?
I expect them to go up. I'm actually surprised. I was predicting this week we were going to see Ontario go off the charts like Quebec did, because Quebec, I attributed, and I have no PhDs out to my name, this is just my opinion, but I attributed the sudden increase in Quebec to the fact that their March break is 2 weeks before our March break. And so I expected us to have a similar type increase this week. We haven't seen it as much. Maybe that's because we really cracked down on the social distancing and were able to prevent it. But I expected the numbers actually to go up higher because of all the travel for March break. And again, that goes back to, should the borders have been closed before? I don't get to make those decisions. I think they should. I think they should be closed more now. But again, that's not my decision to make.
Let's talk about the economic impact. Undeniable. Businesses some of them may never open their doors. You've had many conversations with the business community. What are they telling you?
Well, I was actually on an economic development call with the Ajax Board of Trade this morning with the region, given the economic outlook, and it is bleak. I hope the funds from the federal government start flowing quickly. A lot of businesses are really suffering. We have been really encouraging people to go out and still support. We have, today's Takeout Tuesday. Go out and order takeout from any one of the many great restaurants. Support your local businesses, buy gift cards. What I have done is, I'll give you an example. For instance, my chiropractor, I pay a monthly flat fee. We've let those fees continue. Even though we can't go see them, we do want to keep supporting the local businesses. I'll make up those visits later, but they rely on those cash flows. Same with any business like that, anything like massage therapists, any of these service businesses, nail places, all those are really struggling. Go out and buy gift cards. Still support them. You'll be able to use the services later, but at least if you can afford to, helping them now to get over this hump.
You recently announced the COVID-19 Special Response Fund to help groups that are trying to give back and help others during this time. Can you explain to us what that's all about?
Of course. Well, we've all had to cancel a lot of events. We've canceled everything right up to the middle of July, which includes Canada Day. And we have a lot of money in our budgets earmarked for putting on a lot of these events. So if we're not putting on these events, it only makes sense to put that money into the community and help support. So that's what we're doing. We have a number of very vulnerable people in our community. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Some people don't qualify for some of the federal benefits. So, and there's a lot of groups that are out and helping people. Like, I mean, I shop for several people, and I know a lot of other people do too. Salvation Army is one that is doing a lot of great things in our community. And we want to help support them. So we have taken these funds that we had already allocated and will not be spending and created a pool so we can help support some of these organizations. And if we have a minute, I'll do a quick plug for something that I've got coming as well.
Of course.
That's okay. We've had to make the difficult decision to cancel the Ajax Mayor's Gala, which is going to happen on May the 13th. I'll say it's not canceled. It's just rescheduled. Sorry, not May 13th, June 13th. It's not canceled. It's just rescheduled to June 12th, 2021. It'll be the same event, same location, everything else, and hopefully everything will be fine by then. But given that cancellation, we still have the need in the community for and even more need for certain things, because in a crisis like this, there are some companies, some organizations that feel it more, like Feed the Need and the food banks, like Horizon House. Domestic violence can increase in situations like this. Durham Children's Aid is another one we're looking at, and Community Care Durham that does the Meals on Wheels programs for seniors. These are organizations that we're still looking to support because the need is still there. So what we've done is organize a online virtual interactive fundraiser that's going to happen on April the 25th. It's going to be, I think, YouTube based and on our Ajax Mayor's Gala Facebook page, and it's going to be a live interactive event. I've invited Mayors Don Mitchell and Deputy Mayor Kevin Ash as well, while Mayor Ryan is still recuperating. And we're going to have this event still to be able to raise money for these groups. I've been able to retain a good chunk of the sponsorship dollars that I was able to get allocated from our very generous business community and development community to the Mayor's Gala that we'll be reallocating through this online fundraiser. But the other good thing is, instead of just being the 250, say, people that would normally attend one of these gala events, now we can open it up to the public and perhaps get thousands of people involved in this as well and help these groups. So that's what I'm looking to do, and my council will be there as well, and that's how we're looking to give back to the community here.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We're going to take a quick break. Our guest this week on Talk Politics is Ajax Mayor Sean Collier, who is joining us via video, and we really thank you for taking time out of your really busy schedule to join us today. Stay with us. More with Ajax Mayor Sean Collier after this.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
I'm Queen Barb of the Hard Rock Trolls. I'm gonna unite the 6 strings and destroy all music, except for rock!
If Barb collects all the strings, our music will be destroyed forever.
How are we gonna hug our way out of this one?
We need to go undercover.
With fashion!
Let's go save the world!
Cool.
Hi, I'm Angel Morgan, host of Raising Energy. Join me weekly as I connect to spirits, animals, and so much more. That's right, Raising Energy, right here only on Rogers TV.
And welcome back to Talk Politics. Our guest this week is Ajax Mayor Sean Collier. Mayor, before we left, we were talking about your alternate event to the Mayor's Gala. You're moving it online. How can people get more information?
Well, thank you very much, because I did forget to mention that. You can go to ajaxmayorsgala.ca.com. There's more information there, as well as our Facebook page. There will be more information rolling out there as well. So thank you for asking that, Deborah. There'll be a lot more information to come.
Okay. So while it's not business as usual at Town Hall, you are still meeting as a council, and there are still decisions to make other than COVID-19 related. How are the cogs or the wheels of town business continuing to move forward?
I have my schedule continues to be posted every Monday, and I probably Tuesday this week since yesterday's a holiday. But I mean, business is as usual. I have almost as many meetings. The only things we're not doing is the events, the public open houses, ribbon cuttings for new businesses, that type of thing. But really, it's business as usual for me. I do just about as many meetings, only virtually, just like this, rather than in person. I am in the process. I'm actually just stopped. I'm writing an email to a couple of our ministers regarding an issue we need to deal with. We have an incredible amount of applications in at our town right now, planning applications for development that are still going through the process. I mean, we can't stop what we're doing. So at the end of this, we're going to hopefully have, even though there's no construction right now, all these things approved and ready to go and be able to hit the ground running. So really it's business as usual. This afternoon after this at 2:45 and 3:45, I've got meetings with my councillors online. I meet with them wards 1, wards 2, wards 3 on a regular basis to discuss issues that they're having and things that we need. At the same time, we're always on social media and on our phones as far as, reaching out, phone calls, dealing with residents. None of that stops, So it is very much business as usual as far as what we're doing. It's the only thing that's really changed is how we're doing it.
Is how you're doing it, and it's working well. Talk to me about how you are helping residents to cope in this tough time financially, as well as, a difference in garbage, even something, as little as extra garbage that you're allowing people to put out every week.
Well, first of all, one of the first things we did since property taxes were due at the end of April was to defer any late payments and interest charges. We don't want people who are struggling right now to have the added burden of having to come up with that property tax payment. Of course, we still want you to pay your property taxes if your income has not been affected through this, and eventually you will have to pay those. It's not a waiver, it's a deferral. So they will come due eventually. So if people are able, please make those payments, because we still need to operate the town of Ajax. We are a business as well, and we still need to pay our staff and operate and do all the things that we do. So that was one to sort of try and take the pressure off. We've been really working hard to support our frontline health workers. And by frontline workers, we have our health workers that everybody thinks of right away, being hospitals and doctors and nurses and their support. But then we have our frontline emergency workers, police, ambulance, and fire. But we have, like you mentioned, the garbage collection people, the people that work in our grocery stores. Like all of these people, to me, I consider frontline workers, and I thank them all regularly because they are essential to the rest of us being able to survive. So just by getting that support and education out is helping, I think. We're, like I've already talked about, trying to get people to support the local businesses. We have a few different groups who are going out and helping people, whether it's helping shopping. I've mentioned when I'm going out, I'm going to go out later on tonight or maybe tomorrow morning if I can't get out today. And I'll be shopping for 3 or 4 different people because, why put other people at risk? These are things we can do to help each other. Financially, the federal government has been good in a lot of the programs they've put out. I'm hearing that these funds have been flowing, that people who have been applying for the CERB, I think it's called, have been getting the money in their account in 2-3 days, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still running Durham Regional Transit. Durham Regional Transit is running and it's free.
Yes.
And people board to the rear doors now. So the driver, they stay away from the driver. And it's a free service. So unfortunately, we're getting people riding the bus just for fun, which we're having to deal with. But that's a minor thing. With the garbage, we've removed the restriction from the number of bags. Then they've changed it again. I think they've made it from 4 to 6. So we recognize that more people are home, and we don't want illegal dumping, which we've had some also. So by raising the bag limit, that's helped as well. So there's a number of things that are happening. But this is really, I heard the expression earlier today, we're building the plane as we fly. We're making this up as we go. So nobody's ever dealt with this before. And a lot of these things are new and have not been contemplated. So we're kind of making it up as we go along. And, we'll do what we can.
Let's talk also about Ajax Downs, the casino. The town benefits from regular payments. It's been, since it opened in 2006, I think 92 million in non-tax revenue has come your way. Now they're closed down as well. How will that impact your bottom line and the money that they're sending to you?
It'll impact our bottom line significantly, and it's not just the closing of the casinos. The first thing we did was close all our rec facilities. So right there alone is $7 million in revenue from our the soccer field users and the hockey users and all the different programs and swimming lessons and everything else. So that's about $7 million there. The casino, we did get our second installment. OLG had made provisions, so we will get the second installment, but we'll still be short probably about $4 million on the year. There's a number of things. So I understand people losing their jobs and everything, and we're working with them, but understand, when it comes to businesses, municipalities also are businesses, and we rely on property tax, but we also have non-tax revenue like our fees and from recreation and from things like casinos. And when that goes away, we feel the pinch too and have to make the changes as well. So it's something we'll have to deal with. Given that, though, also there's other expenses that we're not having to make that I talked about a little bit earlier, like some of the events that we would normally put on. So there's a bit of give and take. We've been able to keep as many of our staff as possible that we can keep gainfully employed. We've taken some staff and offered them other duties, like for instance, our rec staff. If you drive to Zamboni and there's no ice in the arenas right now, well, what are you going to do? So we've given other options to our staff to help keep them busy, to help keep them employed. But we're just having to deal with the revenue decrease like everybody else. And same with property taxes. By allowing a deferral of property taxes for 60 days, which we will review in 60 days, and if we need to extend it, we'll extend it. Those things affect us too. But we're doing what we can. We're all in this together, and we're going to do what we can to make it, as livable for our residents as we can throughout this crisis.
When all is said and done, do you think you'll have to go back to the drawing board in regards to your budget and rejig it a little?
Budgets are absolutely shot at this point, whether it be federal, provincial, or municipal.
Yeah.
The difference between federal and provincial and municipal is municipalities are not allowed to run a deficit. We have to balance our books every year. So I have reached out to our MPP and said that this is a problem. As well as through LUMCO, the Large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario, which I'm part of as well. And we sent those messages to the province that, we still have certain levels of service that we have to legislatively maintain, like fire and ambulance and police and transit and garbage and all these things. But if we don't have the revenue, it's virtually impossible for us to balance our budget. So how do we do this? We could go heavily into debt, but again, that just gets transferred onto the taxpayer because we have to increase our taxes to pay it. So it's a bit of an unknown right now. I will be continuing these conversations with our provincial partners, and we'll find a solution. But yeah, the budgets are pretty much not in use at this time. we have a lot of extra expenses as well that were never contemplated.
We've only got about 3 minutes left, so I want to end on a positive note. You know, with all this stress and with all this, you know, bad news, the numbers rising, you know, every day, there's also so much good that's coming out of, or that the community is showing to one another. Specifically, I've seen convoys of cars outside the hospital in Ajax, you know, honking in support. You know, your drive-by donations for those in need that you're taking part in. How good does that make you feel when you see convoys of cars honking going past the hospital to thank them and people giving back?
Well, I'll be leading that convoy tonight at 7:30. We've got another one happening this evening. And that's, you know, we can't support our frontline care workers enough. They're putting their lives at risk for us, and we can't thank them enough. We can't support them enough. We have put donation boxes at our fire halls because people want to show their appreciation to our frontline service workers and, you know, bring them gift cards, flowers, things like that. However, by going to the hospital and delivering those, it creates risk and chance of transmitting the virus. So what we did was we put drop boxes at our fire halls instead. But you're right, a lot of good has come from this. If you want to find the silver lining, it's brought, you know, community goodwill out. There's a number of groups that have been formed. People are helping their neighbors. We have a number of organizations that have, and actually one today, the Sikh community is donating, I think it's 50 hampers today at the Salvation Army, which have 2 weeks worth of family provisions for 2 weeks in non-perishable food items at the Salvation Army, and they'll distribute those for them. I mean, so many groups have come to the table giving PPE equipment and you know, masks and visors and all these things. We've loaned out from the library our 3D printers to be used to make masks, and so has Whitby and a number of others to help make protective equipment. So everybody's really pulled together, and we're very thankful for that. So that is some of the good that's come out, and we've been trying. We also have the COVID-19 window project that we've been doing and encouraging people to have their kids get and put things out.
Mayor Collier, I'm going to have to stop you there. We're almost out of time. Thank you again for joining us so much. Great to talk to you again.
Thanks, Deborah. Have a great day. Be well.
You too. Stay safe. Stay home. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Until next time.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
As the first ever winners of the Epic Mac and Cheese competition hosted by Durham College, we're here to show you how to make the award-winning recipe. Today we decided to use ziti noodles, but you can substitute it for any other type of pasta that can hold the sauce. So in order to make the sauce, you're going to need flour, butter, milk, and a little bit of mustard, and of course the most important ingredient, a little bit of Munster cheese.
So first we're going to saute off some onions and garlic. After that we're going to add the margay sausage. At the very end, we're just going to add green onions, roasted red pepper, and mushrooms. What makes it spicy is the cayenne pepper and the red pepper flakes.
And now we mix it all together. And lastly, dish up and enjoy, Durham.
For my kind, there was one place we were never allowed to go. Your world.
What are you gonna do?
Show this world for what it really is.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
actually, we haven't been away for that long because in season 5 we ended up doing 10 episodes instead of the regular 8. So we took a month off. I went with some friends to a cottage in North Kawartha. Hi, North Kawartha. I love you. You're a fantastic area. And I hear Kat and Boyd had a very busy summer, and we're back and ready to roll. Welcome, everyone. Give yourself a big round of applause. Yeah. Hope you're all doing fantastic, and you had a grand summer as well. We are coming to you from Berkeley Bicycle Club in Toronto, where we're almost ready to wrap up our residency here. We're moving to a really iconic community space, Buddies in Bad Times Theater. You all know it. For those who don't know the space, it is one of the most well-known and respected theater spaces in really the whole world for the queer community. So I'll tell you more about Buddies when we get there. But before we leave, I want to hugely thank Berkeley Bicycle Club, who's been our home for the last couple of years. They've been so kind to us, so supportive, so incredible, and let's give them some love. Yeah. And actually we got Jonathan here. Stand up, Jonathan, and give us a little final bow.
Cheers.
Thank you for all your help. Thank you. Make sure to support them, everyone. If you ever need a venue for your event, they are fabulous people. And a lot of our audience and guests have took the tour of this stunning mansion. So, and everybody really loves it. Speaking of support, just a general reminder, when we see somebody or a business advertising, supporting us, donating space, hosting our events, we should support them back. It's the best way that we can show our appreciation for those who help us. This is the premiere episode of season 6. Yay! And I can't believe we made it this far, but thank you for the love. You really helped. Our fans have helped keep us going. We've got a lot of amazing plans for expansions, a new home, some hot off the chart guests for this season. So keep hanging with us because we're gonna take you into some very new, fantastic places. Kat Grant is on the set of feature film Salty Watermelons. Sounds yummy. And she's going to be chatting with the cast there. And our own Boyd Kodak will be visiting with amazing drag artist, Pretty Ricky. So it's going to be a great episode. But also, I'm very excited about this episode because something very special and very iconic is going to happen on this show. And I'll tell you more about that shortly. This is why it's going to be cool. We're going to be talking about The Great Imposters. And The Great Imposters is one of those legend drag troupes in our history, in our community. If you haven't heard of them, read about them, search online. We wouldn't have the drag that we have now in Canada if we didn't have those pioneers who led the way in a time when it was very, very hard to do what they've done back then. Just as exciting, I have our main guest is the one and only, a drag legend herself, Divine-esque.
Thank you for having me.
She's going to be telling us all about The Great Imposters, her life, her art, and her history, and a lot of amazing things. Welcome to the couch. I've been wanting to have you on here for a long time.
Well, I mean, 6 years, better late than never.
So let's begin with you giving us a bit of history rundown of The Great Imposters. What do you know about them?
What I know about The Great Imposters, first and foremost, is that my drag mother, Michelle DeBerry, was one of the founding members. And the troupe goes back to the 70s, and I venture to say, arguably, it is probably the oldest drag brand in Canada, if not probably one of the oldest drag brands in North America. Yeah. And they were bringing cabaret and a little bit of Vegas and a little bit of body humor and some glamour and a lot of fun to the outlying regions, primarily of Ontario and Canada.
So not just in Toronto.
Oh, heavens no. Toronto was the last place the Great Imposters would play. Okay. The Great Imposters were interested in taking their art to the outlying areas where people wanted some kind of entertainment like that, but couldn't get into the city.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And courageous.
Courageous, yes. I would say they were inadvertent activists, if that makes sense.
That's right.
Inadvertent activists.
To do drag back then was activism.
Well, it was subversive.
Yeah.
It was subversive. It was colorful. It was, eyebrow raising. And I mean, it was very different then than it is now. Actually, I kind of wish drag today still had that feel about it.
There's new people doing new exciting things. But yes, you led the way, and we are really appreciative for that.
Well, it was fun.
Let's talk about there's a new generation of the Great Imposters.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about.
What I'm trying to do with the Great Imposters new generation is because I was a Great Imposter.
I was part of it.
Oh, yes, of course I was. Yes, I was trained and groomed by Michelle after Michelle left the Great Imposters.
Okay.
And then I worked under Rusty Ryan, who was the other founder of the Great Imposters with Michelle DeBerry.
Okay.
So I worked under Rusty, Danny, Jackie, and Leslie O'Shea, and Fancy, and I learned about cabaret drag art from them. And it was a different kind of drag than is going around now. And I think it's time to try and maybe take a look back, because unless you take a look back, how can you possibly know where you're going to go?
We're going to do something a little unique and very special on TV. We're going to drag legend and royalty, the originator of the Great Imposters, Michelle DeBerry, is in the audience. And we're going to invite Michelle to come up and basically pass the torch, the baton, to the new generation.
Well, that would be nice. That's my mama.
That's your mom.
That's my mom.
So, Michelle, come join us.
Kiss the ring.
Kiss the ring.
It's a holy relic.
Are you going to pass that on to Divine-esque?
May I give it to you?
Of course you may.
Okay. Can I get it off?
Oh. Can you get it off?
Thank
you.
you.
Let's find a finger for it.
Oh. That one?
That one. That works beautifully.
I guess my turn now to kiss that.
Is it in?
Here, I'll kiss there.
There you go, Antoine. Thank you, darling. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you both for showing us how community is and all generation and new generation together. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to check in with Kat Grant, and we're going to be right back. So don't go anywhere. All right.
Thank you, Mama.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
The economic impact of COVID-19 has drastically affected food banks across Canada. Many only have enough food for the next 2 weeks. But when you donate to Food Banks Canada, every dollar can be stretched further to help our fellow Canadians, your neighbors who are in need. It's time to step up to the plate and donate. Please give what you can at foodbankscanada.ca.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Grant here. I'm in Tweed at the Beach Hollow Resort with the cast of Salty Watermelons, the movie. They're going to introduce yourselves and then we'll tell you what the movie's about. Check it out.
Hi there, my name is Catherine Daupichette. I'm a francophone Montreal actor, and you can follow me on Cat is Out There for my following projects. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Krista Barzo. You can follow me on my website at kristabarzo.com and Instagram at kristabarzo, and you can find out more about my latest short film project that was completely 100% crewed by women at DNA Movie on Instagram.
Hi, I'm Angela Vanderwall. You can find me on Instagram at Angela G. Vanderwall.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Siviero. I'm a sex-positive bisexual actor and screenwriter. My first screenplay, I'm in Love with All My Friends, was distributed by the Fearless app. It's an LGBTQ streaming app. Check it out. You can find me at facebook.com/CassCivvy to follow me on my journey through this life.
Hi, I'm Nancy Lowe. I am the executive producer and actress at Salty Watermelons. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a couple of children's shows I'd like to get out there, so anybody interested, let me know.
Hi, I'm Cindy Choi, producer, makeup artist, software engineer, knitter extraordinaire. You can follow me on Instagram at Cinderbug78.
Hey guys, I'm Ed Robinson. You can find me in downtown Toronto. Come to the TR Lounge, we'll hang out.
Hi guys, I'm Michael Juga, and I'm an actor, and you can follow me on Instagram at Mikey Juga. Same thing with my Twitter.
What's up guys, Michael Mazurkovic, actor.Michael on Instagram, Michael Mazurkovic on Facebook, very open to new friends on Facebook as well, and I keep things relatively fresh.
Hi, I'm Will Primrose, the mad genius and creator, writer, and producer of Salty Watermelons. I can be found at saltywatermelonsthemovie@gmail.com.
Kevin Jacob, man. Can be found at Act Like a Monster at Instagram and Kevin Jacob Monster on Facebook. Peace, man.
Hi guys, I'm Paul Arcos from Barrie, Ontario. You guys can find me on Facebook, and I'm play Jack Shellac, the meanest Canuga, the whole world nerd.
Hi, my name's Savon Masters Johnson, and you could find me on Instagram at SMJ Flames, and also my new one, Lucid Nexus, standing for Lucid Nexus Productions. And you can also find me on Facebook as well. I do camera and DOP, and I hope to see you soon someday.
So now I'm sitting with Angela, who is actually not just an actress in this, but is directing. So, Angela, please tell everybody what the movie's about.
Yes, Salty Watermelons is a screwball comedy. It's a quintessential Canadian story. It's set on an island in Nova Scotia that the world has totally forgotten. It's a story of the people that live there, their shenanigans, their quest for independence, understanding, love, magnificence, and the lengths that they'll go to achieve those things. So we think it's going to be a pretty funny movie.
Great. How long do you think it'll be before it comes out?
We are hoping to have it done for early spring.
2020.
2020. 2020 already.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. It was fun taking part. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for
So you can find out more also at #SaltyWatermelonsTheMovie. All right, check it out. We'll see you soon.
Wow, we're back, everyone. Yay.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Hi, cheers.
Thank you. That was something, okay?
Well, yeah, my mama is a legend and was a...
I love her.
I love Mama too. You know, Russell Aldred is my mama's boy name.
The real name.
Has been my father.
Yeah.
Michelle has been my mother, has given me home, has given me rides, has given me clothing, has given me money, has given me meals, has been a true parent.
You know, and really a true fantastic person. I was watching recently some old footage of you performing at Club Kobe's.
Oh my
Which is a
gosh.
legend of a club back in our history.
Long
I'm
time
not gonna
ago.
say how long ago. That was don't age either of us. But you were doing the amazing Anne Murray.
Anne Murray, yes.
And brilliantly, I might add.
Thank you.
Over the years, who else have you done?
Well, Anne Murray was my closest lookalike. I also did Carol Channing. I did Charo. Yeah.
Wow.
And I did Ethel Merman. And I did some of Lily Tomlin's characters as well. Anything that was kind of light and uplifting and funny. But Anne, I always took very seriously. My impersonation of Anne, I always took very seriously. Because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Anne Murray's music. I love her work. I love what she did for the Canadian music industry.
Yeah, she's a good person. Have you met Anne?
I've met Anne, yes.
awesome.
She said, "Aren't you a bit big to be doing me?"
But so now that begs the question: why did you get into drag?
I got into drag because I came to Toronto thinking I was going to be a musical theater star.
Okay, so you wanted to be an entertainer.
I wanted to be a musical theater star, but there was no musical theater. Everything was very dark and gloomy at that time. I mean, musical theater didn't hit Toronto until the late 80s and early 90s and all these big musical productions. So
you made your own journey.
I made my own. Well, I met Michelle. At the Homo Hop at U of T. And she walked in and I went, oh my God, I want to be her. And here I am. Well, I'm not her, but.
You are Brian Greenwood.
I am.
What makes your creation Divine-esque unique?
Divine-esque is inspired and informed by Divine.
Yeah.
But what makes it unique is that as a record producer and recording artist, I was able to address Divine's musical catalog update it, give it a new musical sound, and readdress it. And I brought it out. And do you know, Antoine, so many of the young people thought that it was all new and original music they'd never heard before.
You're kidding.
You know, I bought it.
Go for it. Tell them that it is.
But no, I was always very careful to give credit to Divine and Bobby Orlando, who wrote the
I
music.
can see you being very respectful of
Yes,
those who did the work.
yes.
And other than Kobe's, you also performed in some of the most iconic spaces. Run them by us.
Well, I started at the Manatee, April the 18th, 1981. At 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was really the 19th. Also Katrina's, Colby's, Tracks, Bar 1. I did really well at Chaps and Badlands. Occasionally I was at Boots. And then the culmination, I would say the culmination of my career was when I was working for Evening at Lacage Dinner Theatre, which was in the late 80s and early 90s, yes. Now, back in the day, the late 80s and early 90s, the girls who worked at Lacage were like the RuPaul girls are today. We were the queens of the queens
I know.
at that time, yes. And it certainly is a time I look back on with a lot of very fond memories and actually a lot of respect also for the people I worked with.
Beautiful. For anybody who's from the younger generation in our community, if you haven't heard of those clubs, look them up. They really are iconic in what got us to where we are today. Drag becomes a family. Is that accurate or not?
Well, I have to say that backstage with the Great Imposters, we were very much a family. Yeah. And backstage at Lacage also, we were very much a family.
Do you see this prevalent today as it was in the past?
No.
No.
I find there's a generation that's more concerned with the 5 seconds of fame you're going to get on Instagram.
Huh. Well, let's change that and make us our family again. So.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
I'm always about togetherness and family.
Oh, absolutely.
You're also known in the community for something other than your drag, and that's your bling. Is this your creation?
These are my earrings. Thank you very much. Crystal Countess is my high-end line, and then I have a stage line that's called Shady Queen.
Oh, cool. Yeah, all right.
Shady Queen.
Well, do you sell them online?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I have Facebook pages for both brands. Crystal Countess and Shady Queen have Facebook page.
Check them out, guys.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a little break. We're going to check in now with Boyd Kodak, who's going to be talking to Pretty Ricky, and we'll be back right after this. So don't leave us. Stay with us. Bye.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
Family, it's just extremely important. People move around. Connected for Success has just made it so much easier. For the longest time, I was on cloud 9. It connects you to family. It connects you to the outside world, and it makes you feel connected to the community. It was a whole new experience. You realize then how much you missed out. In fact, connect is my favorite word now. I love that word. It keeps me out of trouble.
I'm Don Reese. Join me each week for Pathways to Success as I speak with individuals, young and old, who have successfully overcome or are overcoming disabilities. That's Pathways to Success, only on Rogers TV.
Hi, Boyd Kodak here. This episode I have with me Pretty Ricky. Pretty Ricky goes by he and they and is the founder of East King Productions.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. Tell us a little bit about East King Productions and the focus of...
East King Productions, I started about 2 years ago, and actually before that I had another company called Pretty Money Productions, which was run by myself and one of my best friends, Spencer Money. And then we decided to go separate ways, and I started East King Productions just to be able to provide a safer, inclusive space for drag kings and gender performers. Because after Zipper's cell block closed, there was absolutely no space for drag kings at all, really, to perform, and we just kind of like disappeared, and there wasn't really many kings around. There was like Maximum Capacity and Drag King Flair, and those guys that would do performances in like burlesque shows and stuff, but we never really had anything that was our own.
Your own show?
Yes.
So you created your own show, and now
Yes.
you have multiple?
Yeah, so my main monthly show is called Kings and Classics. We're going to be 3 years old in January. I also host and produce a trans and queer all ages open mic night out of Glad Day Bookshop. We have kids that come anywhere from like 7 up until late. Yeah, so we have it all the way from like youth to seniors that come to this open mic night, and everybody is just like there together and talking about their life or like their spoken word and their poetry. Some people sing, some people do comedy. Like, it's just the most amazing environment.
Embrace?
I do Embrace and Kings and Classics. I also collab with other producers here and there with other shows, but House of Kings is run by Zachy Lime and Alexander Brandy. Zachy Lime's in the audience right now. They also help produce King shows and provide space as well. So now the Kings are kind of taking over the scene again, and you can almost find a King and gender performer in like most shows and most venues now because like it was mentioned earlier in the show, the newer generation is coming up and just fucking shit up with like non-binary. There's no such thing as like rules and limitations. You can come, you can be your weird self, you can do what you want and just perform and be you and who you want to be.
Where can we find you online so we can follow your show?
We have social media on Facebook. You can find us at East King Productions. Instagram is also East King Productions. You can find House of Kings at House of Kings on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can follow my personal page at Pretty Ricky. There we have all details and updates on shows. Buddies and Bad Times Theater. They have been our home for the last 3 years, so thanks to them again, providing amazing queer space all the time.
Why did you pick your name?
My personal name, I've had the nickname Pretty Ricky since I was in high school. I didn't just give it to myself, believe it or not. I've had a bunch of different drag names. Actually, when I first started was at Zippers about 10 years ago, and my first name was Alex Belong. And then it was something a little inappropriate with also Alex, but I'm not going to say it out loud because it's embarrassing. And then I also went by the name Romeo and Juliet when I came out of retirement because I retired from drag for about 5 years. And then I decided, you know what, like, I vibe with Pretty Ricky, so that's just going to be how I'm known. Like, most people call me Pretty Ricky either way. So. And
Nice.
East King Productions, I created East King because I'm from Scarborough and I'm a king.
So there you
So
go.
I'm from the east side of Toronto, you know? So that's how I got East King Productions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Future plans that you should...
I mean, as of right now, I think that the community is doing pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. I mean, you've really brought...
Yeah, so there's not really future plans for East King. I'm just going to continue doing Kings and Classics. I'm going to continue doing Embrace. Mostly, I'm just kind of here if younger folks need some help and want a little stepping stone into community, into the performance world. I'm just kind of here to give them their wings, I guess.
If you want to get into performing, contact Pretty Ricky, and he'll see if he can find a spot for you.
For sure.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are back! Yeah. Thank you. We're going to switch gears a bit now and talk about you and your life.
Wonderful.
Let's start with growing up. Tell us about family.
Southwestern Ontario.
Where?
Burford, the Lake Erie Plains, Tobacco Farm.
Tobacco Farm?
Tobacco Farm, yes. I was born and raised on a tobacco farm.
Family?
4 older sisters that I was born and raised with. A brother and sister that I found later in life when I was 46 years old.
Still close?
Close with all of them. I'm the youngest of the 5 in the birth family, so I had 4 older sisters and a single mother. So I was raised by a family of women, and I think that's where Divine-esque. I think that's where Divine-esque comes from. I've always viewed women as protectors, as mentors, as teachers, as strong, and when I'm like this, that's how I feel too.
Nice.
So this character inside me protects me.
That's wonderful. You have a partner in life, or is it a husband?
I do. His name is James, and he's a workaholic, and he's working
not
tonight.
here.
He's not here with me, no. But no. Next question, please.
You don't live in Toronto these days. You moved somewhere. Where did you move? Why did you move?
Moved to Kitchener-Waterloo because Kitchener-Waterloo, yes, because it's a big city and it's the home of bratwurst and beer and great big sausages, right, Darren?
I can. Over the years, have you been involved in any other scenes or causes in the LGBT community other than drag?
Many, many, many. I think for every $5 tip I get on stage, I donate another 10 back to the community, really.
So you are into
But
causes.
I am into causes, yes.
Now we're going to wrap up with our quick questions. So
Okay.
it's ready here.
Oh, are these rapid fire?
Yeah.
Oh, I better
So
sit
answer
back.
first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
First thing.
Your favorite season of the year?
Fall.
Tiara or not tiara?
Big fucking crown.
What color do you most like to work with when you are making jewelry?
Fuchsia.
What color theme is your bedroom?
Earth tones.
Nice. A walk by the beach or TV binge watching?
The beach with Darren.
Nice. Favorite drag themed movie?
Favorite what?
Drag themed movie.
Oh, Priscilla. Priscilla.
Yeah. And you're throwing a dinner party for all of us, everyone here. What would you make us?
Lasagna and salad.
And lastly, last words to our community and to our viewers at home, whatever you want to say to us.
Well, it's a sensitive time right now. The Republicans are in power in the United States, and, you know, we have a guy that wears a tribble on his head as the president. And I think it's important to remember in Canada, remember the parties, remember the party that made us not be criminals. Who legalized our sexual orientation. Remember the party that granted us marriage rights. Remember the party that gave us same-sex benefits. Remember the party that protects us. And remember that finances take care of themselves. It isn't always about the money. It's about how safely we can walk down the street.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hi. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, join us for future filming. We have such a blast here. You
Clearly.
can write us via Facebook, facebook.com. Join us on the couch. And tickets are free. We serve pizza. So hope to see you in the audience. Last year, we reminded you again and again that it's all about love. This year, let's remind ourselves that even when things don't seem perfect in our world, we got one another. As community and people in general, and our world has so much beauty, so let's never forget that. Stay beautiful, my friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And here's a wrap to premiere of season 6. Thank you. Yeah.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
They served to protect our homes. Now many are homeless. They fought for our way of life. Now many are fighting personal battles of their own. They answered the call for our country. Now we honor them by serving our communities. Help us help Canada's veterans. Become a Legion member today.
What do you say we talk about some of the great Canadian game shows? Canada seems to have the largest singular swath of talent.
I think the popularity of game shows is just as strong today as ever.
Canadians do fun really well.
They entertain an awful lot of people.
Behind every Canadian game show, there's a story.
This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Welcome to another episode of Sold with Sean Lackey. I'm Sean, and we are here to broaden your real estate horizons. So here goes. The town of Port Perry has seen very little residential growth over the past number of years. That's all about to change. Somewhere around 1,200 new living units are coming in over the next 4 years. And when a growth spurt like this happens, there are usually rumors galore about just what's going on. So we decided to bring in someone who can talk exactly about what is coming. And that's Kevin Heritage. He's the Director of Development Services for the Township of Scugog. He's agreed to give us some insight into what to expect over the next little while. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you for coming today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks very much for having me in. I certainly appreciate it and provide some background on the Township of Scugog. I've been with the Township of Scugog for the last year and a half, as you indicated, the Director of Development Services.
Right.
I'm responsible for the planning portfolio, building, economic development, and bylaw enforcement.
Oh
so
my.
I've got a number of responsibilities with the township. Prior to being with the township, I was with the town of Ajax for 26 years.
Oh, okay.
And I was involved on both the policy side and the approval side, development approval side. And prior to that, I was with the city of Pickering for about 8 years. So I've been in municipal government for over 35 years, dealing with municipal planning and dealing with a number of councils. I've also dealt with a number of issues at the Ontario Municipal Board.
Oh boy, okay.
In dealing with, in the town of Ajax, I was dealing with employment conversions, where developers would come forward, their lands are designated for employment, and they wanted to convert the lands to residential.
Right.
So it was an extremely challenging situation to deal with that in front of Ontario Municipal Board members over a number of months. And there was a lot of work that went into that. So I have experience on both the policy side and the development side.
So you're the right guy at the right time for Port Perry and area. I would suggest that for the longest time it's been, I don't want to use the word stagnant, but I think probably held on pause would probably be a good analogy.
Yes.
And now it looks like that pause button is about to come off, and there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. Why now?
Well, the non-Quan sewage treatment plant located north of Reach Street in the town of Port Perry was recently expanded. It was originally constructed by the Ministry of the Environment back in the 1970s, and there was one expansion subsequent to that. This is the second expansion, and it has now opened up the potential for the construction of additional units within the town of Port Perry.
So I've heard a number floated somewhere around 1,200 or maybe more new units, living units, and that's everything from townhouses to single-family residential to apartments, condos, etc. Over the next 4 or 5 years. Is that a good number?
That was a forecast that was prepared by staff in the fall of 2017, and that forecast was based on the applications that were in stream, both received and draft approved, as well as having discussions with the development community, the actual developers, and understanding what their program was in bringing their units to the market. Now, in the meantime, the government has come forward with some additional restrictions that they have put on potential buyers in the market. One being the 2% stress test, where now potential buyers have to satisfy that 2% stress test, and we're finding that the number of buyers the group is not as large as first anticipated.
Really?
Yes. So what we have done is we've looked at those population forecasts again, and based on the original numbers that we had over the 5-year period, we've actually extended that over a 10-year period. So it has reduced the number of units that will be coming on stream on an annual basis. So that's where we're at this point in time.
So that, we'll toss this number around just for the sake of the 1,200, instead of being over the next 4 or 5 years, looks like it's going to stretch out over the next 10.
We're looking at it over the next 10.
Now, that's as a direct result of all these mortgage things and everything that were put in place that have for the most part, tamp down potential buyers?
That's correct. And some of the plans for the major developers within the township have changed a little bit. They not only own lands within the township itself, but they own lands elsewhere.
Okay.
And they may be bringing those lands on first and then delaying bringing the lands in the township online.
Well, there was something, actually, I was just reading in the Toronto Star yesterday about condo developers, and what's happened is that they did their pre-sale 2 or 3 years ago, and they found in the interim, because it's stretched out over that 2 or 3 years, that the construction costs and all the incremental costs that are going to pile up for them to actually build that are squeezing into what they're going to see as a profit out of the thing, and in many cases, a lot of them are bailing. They're just walking away from it.
Right.
And they're saying to the people that have already bought, and these are condominium complexes that are sold out. They've sold all their units, but now they're saying, sorry guys, we're not going to be able to do this.
Right.
So how do you guard against that?
Well, we've got a major condominium development or proposal that has been put on the table, has been approved by council for the land south of the Canadian Tire on Simcoe Street in the town of Port Perry.
Just by Euler.
By Euler, which is the extension of King Street.
Right.
So they are proceeding with moving dirt around on the site. They're doing their grading. They've broken up the major concrete pad that was there on the site that was used by the former
for 30
owner.
years.
Yes.
Why did they leave that there? Do you know?
Because they have to take it up in order to move the soil around.
No, but why was it left there? Why didn't Johnson Controls, when they tore the building down, why didn't they?
I don't know. I guess they weren't required to do so.
Okay.
But the new owner, Stockworth, was definitely required to do so in order to proceed with the development. So they haven't gone to market yet. My understanding is that building permit applications and building permit drawings will be submitted to the township over the summer months, and that we'll be reviewing those drawings as soon as they come in and hopefully get that development moving as soon as possible.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Kevin Heritage from the Township of Scugog. Sorry. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of these things that we're talking about, more specifically about the Stockworth development just south of town in Port Perry, in the south end of Port Perry. So stay with us. We're going to be right back. A lot goes into planning when they decide that they're going to develop a new area. This land behind me where you see all the activity going on was once an industrial area. It had a factory that manufactured parts for General Motors for many years. They tore the building down approximately 20 or so years ago, and the land has been sitting vacant ever since. So along comes a developer and says, what if? So the plan is that they're going to put a mixed use. It's going to be a retail and residential component, 248 unit apartment buildings, and a bunch of retail shops to go with it. Proximity's great, the location's wonderful. So we'll see where they go with this thing, but here's hoping that it works out.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Good evening, 007.
Tell me what you know, James Bond.
You'll light the fuse on any explosive situation.
Got your attention.
007 license to kill. Is this really what you want? Living in the shadows? Always alone?
I don't stop to think about it.
Welcome back. I'm with Kevin Heritage from the Township of Scugog. We're talking about all the development and the things coming in the Scugog area, most specifically Port Perry. We did talk in the last segment about the fact that for the longest time there was really no growth or very limited growth in Port Perry because of the lack of sewer capacity, and that changed when, what, 2017, when they got that plant up?
The second phase for the expansion of the plant was online as of September 2017.
And that has obviously changed, because is that when the lineup all of a sudden queued to the left for all the developers that they want in?
That's correct. That's correct. So most of the growth that we had seen over the last 10 years anyway.
Let's take a look at, we're going to take a look at a graphic here that gives us an idea of just what we're talking about for the growth over the last 10 years.
Now the growth, this graphic shows back to 2013, but even prior to 2013 there was limited growth. And the majority of the growth that's shown on that graph in that time period was primarily for rural residential development. There was very little growth within the urban boundary of Port Perry.
Yeah.
And since, and the forecast beyond 2017, like 2018 to 2023, is anticipating that pent-up demand that we'll be seeing coming on stream. And with the expansion of the plant and being able to accommodate additional development, and based on the number of and type of subdivisions that are in the queue at this point in time, staff has prepared that forecast from 2018 to 2023, and I had indicated previously that we've extended it out to 2027. And the variety of units that we'll be able to see over that period of time. So you can see at the top of those bars, beyond 2017, 2018, 2019, and so on, we're going to be seeing a number of apartment condo type units. So we're going to get a different variety of units coming on stream within Port Perry.
Which is a huge first. I mean, let's face it, I mean, for the longest time, there were very few townhouses. There were very few semis, actually. As far as apartments, you had, maybe at the corner of Reach and Simcoe, and if you were above one of the old stores, and then down on Water Street. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot to choose from. Where are all these builders coming from? Like, are these people that have stayed in touch over the years, have been watching, waiting for that sewer to change, the sewer accommodation to change, and then, when it happened, they were right there?
Some of the builders have been around for some time in Port Perry. Some of them have developed lands already under previous expansions to the plant.
Okay.
David Brand, Cockers Creek, he has developed lands. Ribcore, Picture Homes, they have developed lands as well.
Okay.
So they're trying to bring on their second or subsequent phases of development as part of this expansion to the non-Quan sewage treatment plant.
Have you been getting feedback from the builders as to the, how it's being received by the buying public? Has there been a positive reaction?
There is a positive reaction, but what
it's a funny
reaction?
time.
Oh, yeah, what reaction we received from the builders is that it's certainly not as active as 2 to 3 years ago, where you saw lineups outside sales trailers. You're not seeing that now.
I wonder why.
Yeah, the buyers are a lot more cautious.
Yeah.
And as I indicated previously, there are a lot more restrictions too. Yeah. Like the 2% stress test is eliminating mortgage, a number of buyers.
We talked earlier about Stockworth, the big one being built south of Canadian Tire. Let's deal with that specifically for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the big thing is that it's probably the first big condo complex in the Port Perry area. Is that a safe bet?
That's correct. Council dealt with this site plan application back in September.
Okay.
They gave approval in principle. And the site plan, the site plan that was approved is identified on this drawing.
Okay.
It's located on Simcoe Street and Euler Drive. Euler Drive is the extension of King Street in the south end of the Port Perry urban area. There are 9 buildings that comprise this development, and there's a proposal as part of the development of 248 condominium units. There's over 100,000 square feet of commercial development, including retail and office uses.
So is that all going to be on the ground floor, the retail, and then
Well, the office uses are going to be on the second floor.
Okay.
Primarily, the retail is going to be on the first floor, and then the residential development is in behind.
How high are they going?
They range from 2 stories up to 5 stories.
Okay.
So the maximum is 5 stories in the town of Port Perry.
So it's almost like its own little community.
Absolutely, yes.
So you've got some pictures here of these. We'll look at these too. These are the elevations.
These are the elevation drawings that we've received. This is the building located at the southern portion of the site. It comprises retail on the first floor and office uses on the second floor. The building at the northern portion of the site comprises 5 stories. There's been discussion about establishing a fitness center within that building for the condominium users, and that's immediately adjacent to the south end of the Canadian Tire site.
I was always wondering if they were going to hook up that little road at the south end of Canadian Tire, and it was going to be. It looks like it's going to be.
There will be a connection between this development and Canadian Tire, yes, in terms of the roadway. This picture identifies, or these elevation drawings identify the buildings that will be fronting onto Simcoe. So they are extremely well designed. A number of the design features within this building reflect a number of the design features that are in downtown Port Perry, and that was intentional. It's got retail on the first floor and some office development on the second floor. This is an example of an elevation drawing of the building internal to the site, removed from, or just to the east of Simcoe. And it's residential development comprising a height of about 5 stories.
Wow.
So that gives a flavor of the type of development that we're going to be seeing in terms of the elevations, the variety of uses that will be located on the site, and the spatial allocation of the buildings on the site.
Very quickly, and then we're going to take another break, but does this anywhere come near to satisfying the intensification need that Port Perry has had for years?
In the Scugog official plan, there is a schedule that identifies a variety of sites, or a number of sites, to accommodate priority intensification sites.
Okay.
This is one of them.
Okay.
Actually, on the other side of the street, it's identified as a priority intensification site as well.
All right.
And there are a couple of other sites, one along Highway 7A, adjacent to the provincially significant wetland across from the grocery store, and a couple of other sites to the north of that.
Perfect. We're going to take a break. This is getting to be too much fun. We're with Kevin Heritage from the Township of Scugog, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about all the stuff that's being built or coming up in the Scugog area. So stay with us. More to come. When planners are developing a new area, there's a lot of things that goes into their thought process in whether or not it will work or not. They have to have the proper mix of density, whether they're single homes, townhouses, semi-detached apartments like we were talking about before. So those factors have to come into play when they're deciding, is it the right location? What's the overall density? What's the potential for future growth? They pick certain areas based on proximity to shopping, to schools, all of those things. As a buyer, I think the big thing that really matters most is what's my resale potential? Is this a house that's going to increase in value over the years? So when you're looking at new houses and new developments, those are all points that you should consider.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
You're invited to join us on the couch, first Tuesday of the month, for the 5th anniversary season of your loved local LGBTQ talk show.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Canterbury. Welcome back. We're with Kevin Heritage from the township of Scugog, and I'm not going to screw around here because we got a lot to cover in the next 9-minute segment here. So I'm going to just give this to Kevin. We've got some maps that we're going to put up, and Kevin's going to talk to what's coming up and what areas are being developed and built in, and he's going to talk to that. So let's go.
Sean, what I'm going to focus on is the Port Perry urban area.
Okay.
I'll start off with that, and then I'll get into some of the subdivisions that we've received and have been approved in the rural area.
Yeah, so we got, that's the north, this is called North Port Perry.
In the northern Port Perry area, we've got Lalu Peninsula. They're proposing 20 single detached dwellings. They're a fairly new developer within the township, and they've will be extending municipal water into the site to service the development. They'll be on septic tanks and tile fields.
Okay.
Canterbury Commons development, there are two components to that. There are 99 single detached dwellings located in the south end of the existing Canterbury Common development. Parts of those are to be located on a converted golf course, and the other component is a seniors housing component located on Simcoe Street at the major east-west road in that development.
Okay.
Further south, Cockers Creek, that's a David Brand subdivision. He's developing phase 3A and 3B, and he's currently selling those houses. There's a sales trailer on site, and that just opened up in the past weekend. That proposal includes 101 single detached dwellings and 36 semi-detached units.
We're seeing a lot more semis and townhouses.
We're seeing more semis and townhouses. Immediately adjacent to the east of that development, it's owned by Oxnard Port Perry Inc., and they're proposing, and they've received draft approval for 40 townhouses.
Wow.
So we're really seeing a mixture of singles, semis, and towns up in this area, as well as on the Canterbury site, a seniors complex. Moving to
South Port Perry.
Recently, the development for 38 townhouses and Flickton McDonald was approved by council. Ribcor Holdings has received draft plan approval. Now this is the next phase of Ribcor. Ribcor has been in the township for some time, and they're proposing 124 singles and semi-detached.
So that's the one right along Union?
That's right along Union on the west side of Union.
And that's going to hook up with all the existing ones up on the hill though, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Further to the south is Holland Homes. South of King Street, they're proposing 25 single detached dwellings. That was approved by the Ontario Municipal Board several years ago with a different landowner, and that landowner has sold to Holland Homes.
Okay.
MB Residential, it's an infill type development for 11 single detached dwellings. That has not received draft plan approval yet. It has yet to come to council. And the other development in the south end of Port Perry is Stockworth, which I have spoken about, on the east side of Simcoe Street, north of Euler. 248 condo apartment units and over 100,000 square feet of commercial development.
Nice.
Now, moving out of the urban area, the Port Perry urban area, onto Scugog Island, we have 3 proposals that have been draft approved. 23 Estates, that's the developer, and they're proposing 15 single detached dwellings.
That's right on Spring Boulevard?
That's right on Spring Boulevard. 1730 300 Island Road subdivision, there's 16 single detached dwellings. And Henley Story Humid, 13 single detached dwellings. All these developments are on private services since we're outside the urban boundary.
Okay.
So they're on wells and septics. Moving to Epsom, we have one development that's been proposed for some time. It's draft approved, and for 17 single detached dwellings, and they're on private services as well. And finally, in Nestleton Station, this draft plan of subdivision has been with the township for some time, and it hasn't received approval as of yet, and the proposal is for 36 single detached dwellings.
So that's the one on the east side of Nestleton Road, just north off Highway 7A.
That's correct.
Where do these guys come from? And then quickly, I want to talk to you. I know you want to mention about the White Belt and a few other things, but what would be the genesis of an idea of building a place like Nestleton Station where you've got 36 single units out there? What would drive somebody to thinking that that would be a place that, I mean, we see it in Goodwood, we see all these different places that they just seem to be random. Coppin's Corners, where you've got all these big executive homes out in the middle of nowhere. Why?
It was approved by the Ontario Municipal Board.
Oh. I take it you're real friendly with them.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
We won't talk about Reach and Simcoe, but we'll move on that one. So where would an idea like that come from, and why?
Well, the various municipalities prepare hamlet plans, and the hamlet plans establish boundaries around the existing hamlet, as well as accommodating some additional land for the rounding out of that hamlet.
Okay.
So a number of buyers like that type of lifestyle where they're outside of the urban area and they're more in a rural community.
But they're still close enough.
But they're still close enough to the urban area, yes.
Okay. Very quickly, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I do want to get your blue sky take on what's happening in the next 20 years, but tell me about the White Belt and the lack of White Belt that we have in Scugog.
In the township of Port Perry, or township of Scugog, Port Perry is designated in the Greenbelt plan as a town village. And the Greenbelt plan completely surrounds the village of Port Perry, the town of Port Perry. There is no opportunity for the expansion of Port Perry beyond its urban boundary because it would infringe on the Greenbelt.
Okay.
Many municipalities in the south end of Durham have a white belt. So there's an area that's designated as the white belt between the urban boundary and the green belt. And that could accommodate future expansion. That is not the case in Port Perry.
Yikes. Okay, very quickly, and then we have to get out of here. Well, I could talk to you all day. Where do you see us heading? Where do you see this going in the next 20 years? I mean, this is all of a sudden, this is going to be big over the next 10 years, but give me a little long-term look.
Well, there are two major constraints in Scugog, specifically in Port Perry. One is sanitary servicing and the expansion, the potential expansion of the Nonquan. I understand that the sewage treatment plant can be expanded again at some time in the future.
Okay.
And the other constraint, as I indicated, was the Greenbelt.
Greenbelt.
And it's a major constraint. The region of Durham is going to be initiating their municipal comprehensive review over the next 4 years, and the township staff will be suggesting to the region that we are going to be looking for some kind of flexibility to accommodate additional development within Port Perry.
Thanks, Kevin. I'd like to say thanks to Kevin Heritage for coming out this week. This is awesome. I'd also like to thank Lori Bowers for setting this up. This is great. So stay with us next time on Sold with Sean Lackey. Like to see you then.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Very good.
You can make my
You're watching Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers.